Hello, everybody. Welcome to Timesphere, where we have timely discussions that are never on time. Scott, this is not our second time doing this. We're not late recording this week, and we're not. God, we don't actually. We do have a stacked lineup of things to talk about, from a mix of GDC and just the industry as a whole being on fire the last several. The last like week and a half, it calmed down a little bit because there's not like a lot of PR while GDC is going
Hmm.
on, so there's not like news or the like from that kind of stuff. I mean, like today,
There's
we'll
a
get
lot of. I
yeah.
mean, I think there's a lot of news. There's
Oh
definitely a
yeah,
lot of
but
news that
all the
comes out.
news is like from GDC proper, so it's all like business stuff or
Sure,
the like of that, not
but
like
some. Yeah.
game getting announced or this happening or
Oh no, nothing like
whatever.
that. No.
I mean, like today, there's some cool stuff that happened today. So we're recording this on literally the day before it'll come out, so Monday, before this episode airs. So there, obviously, like there's some news that we're not going to get to today specifically. We're also pushing. So if you're on the internet, you've seen all the DLSS stuff from Nvidia. So that has been going around. All that. I want to have a discussion at some point with some people, bring some other people on to talk about like visual identity in games and like art direction and this weird era of technology we're in, where all these like companies and like people in power want you to be able to like even some players want to be able to customize their experience to the point where like the final say doesn't lie with the creatives, like that kind of stuff that just destroys what a game is supposed to be. That's like saying, oh, I want your book to read like I want it to read instead of just reading a book. That's not how creative stuff works. So I'm just like, oh, hello, Peter. But yeah, I don't know. That the whole DLSS thing we'll talk about next week, which will hopefully have like some more insight on it. I saw Bethesda post like a response being like, "Hey, we're super excited for this, but this is like an early look." And I'm like, the dude that in your game looked his eyes were like looking opposite directions upward at a weird angle. And that's what they included in the trailer to showcase this.
Yeah. They
Like
they all signed off on it. Yeah, that's the thing. It
absolutely
it, it
stupid.
really they really just yassified everyone. They really look like they have like like a typical Gen AI filter
Yeah,
on
Gen AI
everything.
filter that,
Um,
or the one that all the people like all the super bad edits of the people who don't like how certain women look in games because they're not pretty
yeah.
enough or they're not like they don't have the biggest boobs and that kind of stuff. And it's like,
They're like, let real gamers design the characters. It's kind of like if that was a filter and
yeah,
they
they're
put
just
it on
turning
Resident
characters
Evil,
into completely different characters or making them look
looking.
awful. Like the lighting and
Yeah,
stuff looks good in those images, but guess what? If you're changing everything about a scene, that doesn't look good. This is part of the conversation. Like I've been playing my lineup of games that I've been playing. Other than like I went back to Marvel Rivals for the first time in a month,
mhm,
just to gear up for the new season that's coming out. But my main lineup of games is playing Pocopia, which like looks really good, but it's super stylized. The main character has a
yeah,
smiley face as the main expression on it, but that looks really good if a little kitty. But that's the design. Pokemon Blue, which is like a game from 1996, 95, that like looks really good for a Game Boy game and still holds up visually when you're looking at it from that lens, and still still really good in other ways for like pixel
mhm,
art and stuff. And then I played like 5 demos on stream on Saturday with like super distinct styles, and they
mhm,
played to their strengths with those styles and how they work. uh I just don't understand the need for like DLSS does a lot more than just visuals. Like it makes
mhm.
things easier to run at like certain levels, and that's really good. Like the Switch 2 uses DLSS and like uh uh and elements of that
Yeah,
to make sure games can upscale their imaging. But
yeah.
yeah, that
It's made my. I mean, here's the thing. When I tried it, there's a setting on it for Marvel Rivals, and I
mm,
tried to use it, and it made my game look and run better, but it also would just crash my computer, so I can't use it.
mm.
And I was looking at some of the, so they have a bunch of like screenshots
Oh
on like
yeah.
the Nvidia page, and you can use those little sliders to see like on and off. And like for EAFC, for example, it does look better because those are, because the likenesses are based off real actual people, and so when you see it, it's like, yeah, that does look like Virgil van Dyke or whoever the other players are. And so that I guess that I'm fine with, but like, yeah, the Resident Evil stuff just looked weird. The Oblivion stuff looked really weird. Don't go back up there, Peter. Please, thank you. And he's gonna jump the
Yeah,
computer.
back on the
Power button
computer.
again. Yeah, he'll go way down. That's great, boy. Yeah, I just didn't like the look at it, and maybe this like maybe there are some settings that you can change so it doesn't quite look like
There'll probably
that.
be
I
some
mean,
kind of visual tick that you can like turn off that doesn't mess with characters and only messes with the lighting and the other elements
yeah.
of the background.
Am I? Yeah, and am I the only person who's like, I don't need all of this. Like, I don't need it to be super photorealistic.
No,
I
that's
was
part of
watching
the
a bit of
discussion.
the Digital Foundry video, and they're like, look how this lamppost behaves like how you would look at a lamppost. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm not looking at the
We
fucking
we
lamppost when
broke
there's 5 zombies charging
Look,
at me.
okay, so first off, I want to say shout out to everybody that's been watching the Pokemon episode that we did because we're about to hit 900 views on that, and that's awesome. Also, shout out to all the people that are leaving comments in sequence of them watching the 4-hour episode. Like we've had a dude comment back when the episode launched like 2 weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago, and then like multiple days later because they'll go back to watch it more. And
He's working his
that's
way
awesome.
through it.
Shout out to those. But in that episode, we talk about how in Winds and Waves, like the game looks much better than a lot of like modern Pokemon games. But the shadows and how they are dynamic to the Pokemon movements, or how like Tropius, which is a big leaf dinosaur looking guy with big wings that are like palm trees, like palm tree leaves, so like big like furrowed leaves. But you can see the shadows through them. There's translucence to how the shadows work. That stuff is cool. That stuff adds to the gaming experience because visually it adds depth to the world. I don't need, when I'm running around in Resident Evil Requiem or like whatever game I'm playing, to run around under a lamppost and have to see, and like the dynamics of the shadow need to like be apparent, like the most apparent thing in the game. That's almost like a visual design flaw. Like if it looks good, if it looks bad, that's bad. But if it looks good enough to just be like, oh, that fits the engine, or that makes it like look more realistic, sure. But if you're putting so much effort on how a lamppost works, and that's not what it is. They're talking about like the lighting, how the lighting works in reaction to the structure of the lamppost and through the lamppost, and how like it dissect the lighting dilutes as it goes out. Like that kind of stuff is what they're talking about. But if that's the thing you have to focus on, then that's not making the game better at a core level. And I just want the games to be good. I want the games to look good. I want the games to play good. And I want the games to, and I want people that make the games to be able to afford a living and not be laid off.
Yeah. And
that's where
this isn't going to help because it is very resource intensive.
The stuff that they were demonstrating runs on two 5090s.
Yes, people cannot afford one 5090, let alone two. I'll say this. I'll quote Alana Pierce, who I think put it perfectly. It's a resource intensive feature that nobody asked for, which solves no known problem, and it's functionally not just useless, but actively makes the product worse.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just
look. We'll table it there because we're going to talk about it more in depth next week because we're going to have more information and more backlash and probably some comments from Nvidia and some of these other developers and whatnot. But
Nvidia is already leaving comments on the Digital Foundry video trying to like backtrack and like
cool.
say
it's not going to work. We've seen it. We know what you're about. Like Nvidia was like the quote unquote golden child of like PC, like computer parts and like DLSS and all these things that were making gaming a lot better, like GeForce Now and all that stuff. But they're in the AI field now. Like that's where they're at, and they've lost a lot of goodwill. And almost all of it, actually. They've lost a majority of goodwill because of pricing, because of how they're like handling releasing for some of their older products and like discontinuing stuff or recontinuing stuff because they know things are going to get more expensive. Like Nvidia's a mess right now, but we'll get into DLSS and that kind of discussion more next week. We'll also get into the big Jeff Kaplan interview that happened and like him talking about Overwatch and his history with Overwatch. We're not going to recap all of it. We just want to touch on some points. The reason we're not talking about it this week is because there's a lot of other stuff to talk about, and there's some very good points about the development of Overwatch, the mishandling of the IP at like not only a studio level within Activision Blizzard, but also like as a product that he gets into that are really interesting. And we specifically want to talk about like Overwatch League and what he talks about with that. So, and he
Mhm.
also announced a new game. So we're going to talk about all of that next week also, because we want to give that a little bit more time and we want to actually read up on it and everything. So we're going to skip over that this week. What we are going to talk about this week is starting with the new Xbox details that added GDC. So last week, if you remember, we talked about PC ditching or PlayStation ditching PC when it comes to its single player exclusives. We talked about Xbox announcing. I think that might have actually been 2 weeks ago for Xbox, but Xbox announcing Project Helix, which is its next console project, it's the next Xbox hardware project, because they did confirm it is
Mhm.
going to be a PC hybrid where it can play
Mhm.
Xbox games. So it's going to have a disc drive. It's going to, we assume, I haven't like looked too far into it, but we assume it's going to be have the disc drive option, be able to play physical games unless you buy like the digital only version that they're probably going to have, or
They'll have one for
yeah,
sure.
exactly. But it's also going to be able to run PC infrastructure, kind of similar to what the ROG Ally X can do. So this is reading from the GDC panel, courtesy of Andy Robinson over at VGC, where the overview says, Project Helix Innovation plays your Xbox console and PC games, powered by custom AMD SoC. So it's co-designed for the next generation of DirectX, which means Windows. Next gen ray tracing performance and capabilities, so we knew that was coming. GPU directed work, graph execution, so keywords that people won't really care about. AMD FSR Next plus Project Helix, so built for the next generation of neural rendering, next generation ML upscaling, next generation multi-frame generation, next gen regeneration. Basically, it's going to do what you expect most modern like PCs to be able to do, where even at like lower settings or even at like some higher settings, but with some settings ticked, games will be able to run better, because there's going to be like frame generation options. There's going to be upscaling. There's going to be all these things for ray tracing and path tracing and stuff that will make the games look better while running better at lower cost to the console, which is why like I mentioned the Switch 2 earlier with DLSS and kind of similar things, where a lot of games on the Switch 2 can take advantage of this. Uh, so now a game can come over to Switch 2 and be running look a lot better than it's actually technically running, for different reasons. And then like texture stuff or whatever. This was Jason Ronald, the VP of Next Generation, confirmed that Helix will be powered by the custom AMD SoC. They will offer a quote, an order of magnitude increase in ray tracing performance capability beyond what's currently possible with the Xbox Series S and S. Development kits are being sent out next year. So if development kits are being sent out next year, what we said is probably happening is true, where there's going to be a delay in what we think the next generation of consoles are going to be, to at least 2028. 2028 at
Yeah.
minimum. And that's kind of like that 8-year cycle. So like
Mhm.
8 years is like a good. I still think we might get it even further pushed out because of certain things,
If
but
they're
I don't
getting
know what.
if they're getting the kits into their hands in 2027, and we don't know when in 2027, and assuming they're not trying to, but here's the thing: we all know that companies and game developers are trying to cut down the amount of time that it takes for games to come out. But especially if it's a new generation, and there is a lot of I've got the hiccups. Oh boy, there is a lot of I'm just nervous. I'm excited about Xbox. If there is a lot of excitement around this new platform, this new console
Yeah,
PC
well,
hybrid,
not only that, but
they're
they
not going to want
also
to
uh
rush these games out.
no, they're not, but also like the question is, are we going to get a Xbox and a PlayStation in the same year again, or at the same time again? Do they care? Are we that far gone with what consoles are that Xbox cares about directly competing against a PlayStation? Do they need, or do they just want an Xbox box out there in this new form factor? Because later on they confirmed that Xbox mode, which is the big picture mode that I was talking about for the ROG Ally X, that has been slowly rolling
Mhm.
out to a bunch of Windows capable handhelds over the last like 6-ish months, is coming to Windows 11, and that is they're reconfirming their vision to like combining the ecosystems a little bit more to where you can customize how you game with Xbox on PC. And also they've teased like a new game preservation kind of project where new classic games will be able to be played in new ways, whatever that means. If that means more classic games are going to be play anywhere, and basically like doubling down on the play anywhere model, where a bunch of these games that might be locked to console are now going to be playable on PC easier. Great, because that means I don't have to have an Xbox. I don't have to have my Series S like when I want to play Blue Dragon or Lost Odyssey or any of these games that I have on classic Xbox infrastructure. But there's just a whole bunch of like these little things. Alpha versions of the hardware going to developers in 2027. Committed that basically that Jason said, and we're committed to keeping games from 4 generations of Xbox playable for years to come. As part of our 25th anniversary later this year, we'll be rolling out new ways to play some of the most iconic games from our past. So that kind of just reads Xbox stuff, Microsoft stuff,
Yeah,
but we'll see.
they made the whole point to lean
stuff.
into the backwards compatibility, and it's one of the things that has been probably the most praised from like the Phil Spencer
Yes.
era is them really going hard with that. So it makes sense they would keep that. It's definitely one of the things that like has been a net positive that's been embraced as a positive by the wider gaming community. You know how I know that we are coming up to the next generation?
How?
An official declaration of from GameStop that the PS3, the Xbox 360, and Wii U are now officially
Retro.
being labeled as retro consoles. So you get an additional 10% in trade credit if you bring them into GameStop stores.
I don't know, man. That's like, I mean, I don't care. That stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, what labeling something as
I think
is just a label.
Yeah, I think it's GameStop I think likes to do so sort of tongue in cheek, like we're the authority on gaming, and I don't think they're. It's a thing where like they could be serious, or they could just be doing it
I
as a
mean,
bit.
some places already label that
Either
as
way, it's
like
fine.
label that stuff as retro, just because. Like what consoles did you say specifically?
PlayStation 3,
Yeah,
Xbox 360, and the Nintendo Wii U.
those are 20 years old.
Yeah,
Yeah, some people label stuff retro 10 years. Just
yeah,
because
I think that's fair.
I think anywhere between like 10 and 20 is like a fine metric for what you label as retro. Like once something passes 10 years on the market, like most of the time a console doesn't last. Like prior to the Switch, which I believe lasted 10 years basically on the dot. No, it launched in 2017. Didn't no, it was 2017, right? I think Switch was 2017.
The original Switch?
Yeah, wasn't it 2017, like May 2017?
That sounds right.
So even the Switch, which people were like, this console's lasting forever. Like that only lasted
March 2017 for most consoles.
Yeah, so
for
like
most regions.
8 years. It lasted 8 years.
9. Oh no, right, because the Switch 2.
Yeah,
It's 9
Switch
years
2.
now, but Switch 2 came out.
Yeah,
before
so like
then.
most consoles, like once you hit 8 years,
you're right.
That's when like the next generation of consoles launch.
Mm-hmm.
So like 10 years is more than generous to call something retro. So 20 years, whatever. I know I'm getting older. I know I'm closer to the grave. My eyes tell me that every morning. Like I wake up and I'm like, damn, that's crazy.
The what's funny about this slide in this presentation is that it's got like a generic Call of Duty character, or I guess one of the main new Black Ops protagonist characters on it. It's like, talk about like a game that like you kind of, I probably don't want to, not like you don't want to attach it to this, but it's like, I don't know, maybe pull up a heavy hitter. Maybe not saying that's just like, I know like Call of Duty is just like, it's for, well, here's the thing, Call of Duty, the people who play Call of Duty, they don't care about like the next generation of neural rendering or like multi-frame generation or blah blah blah. They're like, as long as it runs it and it looks good in their eyes, and they'll buy Call of Duty and they'll buy it an Xbox. And so like I feel like especially the people who are going to be at GDC, I feel like the amount of people who are actually at GDC who are like regular Call of Duty players is probably pretty slim. I don't know. Maybe like, but then again, like, you know, what Xbox IP character can you put that would like
Master Chief? But at that point,
then it's like, oh, is there an actual new Halo thing coming, and not just like?
I think this was just a way to focus on let things focus on the console itself.
Sure.
I don't think it really matters.
I'm reading too much into it.
Yeah, and now there's like, this is another write up from VGC. Shout out Chris Scullion, where journalist Moore's Law is Dead, who does a bunch of like spec stuff and a bunch of like talking about price points and everything, speculated and used some reporting that Project Helix could be a price point anywhere between $1,000 to $1,200, which is getting into that the Steam frame, or not the Steam frame, the
The
Steam
machine.
machine kind of discussion that we had a couple months
Mhm.
ago, where does that, like, what does that put it? Because that puts it in contention with some pretty decent PCs at the low end.
Mhm.
Like, if you're not putting $2,000 in your PC, you're probably spending about 1,200. 1,200 is
Mhm.
like the sweet spot of like that low range. If you're not like completely searching for the biggest deals, so if this definitely puts it out of the console market
Yeah,
in terms
this
of
confirms
price.
what we were talking about last week, where it definitely feels like Xbox wants to compete more with Steam than they want to compete with PlayStation. I think either we said that. I think we said that last week, and yeah, this is kind of like this is the like yeah, based on what
Yeah,
they've been saying with the Helix details so far and what we do know about Steam Machine, it does seem like it's going to be a competition between these two. Steam Machine's going to have the advantage of coming out. Maybe
we'll
we
get to
thought it
that in a
was.
minute.
We think it's going to come out this year, but yeah, we
Well,
got.
so here's what
We'll
Moore's
get to
law
that.
says. Basically, he's saying that he thinks the Helix will be more powerful than the PS6 at like a base level, uh, and that'll like come at the cost of a higher price, and because the Xbox did say lead in performance,
Mhm.
but that's also just a marketing term. Like, they always say stuff like that when they're talking about new hardware. So he goes on to say maybe they're wrong, but I don't think they are. I think Sony's going for a more PS4 like approach next gen, and Xbox is they're building a bridge out of the console market, and so they'll probably charge $1,000 or more for this thing. He breaks down his
Yeah.
justification, claiming that the next gen system will use similar tech to the successor to AMD's 9070 XT graphics cards, and the continued price of RAM will also affect the cost, obviously. I have a document that directly says AMD wants their successor to the 9070 XT. These are the RDNA 5 AT2 die. Wants their successor to die. AMD's directly said in a document they're targeting $550. Now, who knows what that really means? Where prices will be, maybe they'll end up at 650. I think this came out. I can't remember if this came out before or after the actual GDC article. So maybe the announcement of a custom AMD chip is different, similar to how like the Switch uses a custom version of a different chip. Uh, so that's could bring costs down. Who knows? What this sounds like is that we're gonna start seeing more expensive consoles, because we already know the PS6 ain't gonna be cheaper than $500 whenever that
No,
launches. It's
definitely
probably
not.
gonna be closer to 600. Uh, and then if they are going for more PS4 like approach, which is smart for them, because just like we talked about, how much more can a game push the tech that we already have?
Mhm.
Or is it just, hey, the PS6 is going to offer some cool new features. It's going to have upgrades to everything we already had in the PS5. Maybe they'll offer some kind of trade-in plan, a more convenient trade-in plan, like directly through Sony somehow. That's like working with
Mhm.
retailers that could get more people to get the boxes at cheaper. Like, I think Xbox did that with GameStop for the series when the Series XS launched, because that's how I got my Series
Mhm.
S. Was I traded in my Xbox One X and basically only had to pay $50 to upgrade. So, and I got like 3 months Game Pass at the time for
Nice.
that. So I
They could. Yeah, they could do that. Yeah.
I think there are ways that they could get the cost down. For this specifically talking about Sony, I don't know what Xbox's deal is. That Xbox is going to be the one that, even compared to Steam, like compared to Valve, Xbox is going to be the one that's the most confusing to look at, because we know what they're going for. We know what they could go for, because we've got the Xbox One, we got the ROG Allies, we got the big the Xbox mode big picture thing coming to PCs through Windows 11. So if that's the case, are they going to go full into that, where, or are they going to have an Xbox infrastructure on these Helix machines that can boot into Windows? Are they going to be running an even more like like gaming optimized or gaming centric, or even like side kernel of Windows that doesn't make you go into Windows 11 to do things, like update things? Or like, I want to know how that part of this is going to work, because this is going to be a true hybrid. But
Mhm.
are they going to do like a full on like Steam OS version where you never have to
Hmm.
leave the thing to do things like update stuff? Or is this going to be like what I deal with when I use my ROG Ally X, where like if I want to do certain things, I have to get out of?
Yeah, I worry about its ability to
Be a
run
console.
like be I worry about its ability to be a PC. It's like if I assume the the strictly Xbox ecosystem, like what you get now when you turn on your Series S or Series X, I assume that's going to work really well. It's the PC stuff, like if I want to like pull up my Steam catalog or if I want
No,
to
no,
pull
no.
up
That works perfectly.
GOG or oh, that works
That works
perfectly.
perfectly on the ROG Ally X.
So what? So I guess I'm confused. And what's not been working?
I'm not saying anything's not working. I'm saying it's I want to know what version of this are they going for a Steam. So Steam OS, you never have to boot into Linux if you don't want to.
Right.
Like unless you want to download something specific or change some settings or something, you never have to boot into Linux. On the ROG Ally X, you have to boot into Windows to do specific updates. You have to boot
Okay.
into Windows. So it's got the Xbox mode, which was exclusive to this console when it first launched.
Mhm.
And now it's rolling out to the handhelds and it's going to be on PC, Windows 11 PC soon. But when you're in that big picture mode, it works pretty well. Like it works really well for you're in the Xbox app and you can link your Steam account, you can link your Epic account, you can link your GOG, that kind of stuff, and all those games appear in your Xbox library, or you can use a button to boot up those launchers in the Xbox mode as a different tab. You never have to go to Windows for that. But to do updates or to install certain things, like if you want to have Discord active while you're doing things, or if you want to like, there are reasons you have to go to Windows mode, and they're more frequent than you would like, and especially if you want to turn off some features or customize things. That's one thing. I'm worried about. I want to know. That's where my thought process is. I want to know how much they're going to try and emulate what the Steam Deck has and what the Steam machine will have, just being having the option of just being on that OS and not having to leave ever, or will they go with what they have now with Xbox mode, where you can do a lot, but you still have to go into
Mhm.
Windows? Will this Helix machine, what version of Windows will it be running? Is it going to be running a custom version of Windows 11? Is it going to be running its own thing? Like that's what I want to know. That's what makes this the most confusing of the new consoles, because Nintendo's not doing anything new for a while, unless they do like a OLED version of this. I don't think they're worried about doing anything new right now, like because of the
No.
market and everything. They're already having to contemplate raising the prices. They're suing the government, which we'll get into in a second. But like, and then we know PS6 is, especially based on what Moore's Law is saying, is here probably going to be more of just a traditional like upgrade for a console, maybe even like just a straight upgrade, and then the Steam machine is going to be the Steam Deck but a console. So those are all relatively known quantities.
Yeah.
Xbox's thing is not, and that's what I'm talking about. So, but we can get off this and talk about Steam now, because holy cow, at the start, like the start to mid last week, Valve put out a blog that was basically like, hey, we're still looking at like this year for the Steam machine and our other stuff. Like they basically reiterated that it's going to be releasing in 2026, but there's another delay to it because of all this RAM stuff. So we hope to ship in 2026. This is the blog. But as we recently shared, memory and storage shortages have created challenges for us. We'll share updates publicly when we finalize our plans. Valve had previously confirmed, this is the previous week, that while it planned on releasing Steam Machine and Steam RAM in the first half of 2026, the rapidly increasing price of PC components had delayed its announcement of pricing and release details. We did get some stuff about like how the verification system is going to work for Steam Machine games to pair with the Steam Deck verified games, which will essentially become the industry standard. Like if you don't understand, like a lot of people don't understand how important like having a verified game for like Steam Deck is now, because those are like the bare minimum requirements for like a lot of like lower class PCs, like a lower system spec PCs too. So if you can hit that reliably and run well on a Steam Deck, you can run on a lot of lower requirement systems, and that opens up your door to a whole new area of marketing on that. You might be able to get it to run on, like, you can definitely get it to run on Switch too if you can get it to run on a Steam Deck. So
Yeah.
like that's whatever the Steam machine verification process is, and whatever that like metric is, those metrics are, that's going to become like almost the new industry standard for what developers are going to try and be able to hit with their games, which might in turn change how a lot of developers long term look at things like the new Xbox or the new PlayStation, because again, how much of the new tech can be used in the games while still getting them to work on the old machines, because a lot of people aren't going to be upgraded anytime soon. So we're at a really weird point.
It's interesting though, and well, not really interesting. It's a little bit frustrating that sometimes there are certain games that there I'll say this. There's a couple games I like that either have the green check mark or don't have the play or have like playable that just don't work, or you have to do so much extra work to get to work. Knights of the Republic is probably the most shocking that it doesn't have like, because there's a Switch port for it. The Switch port works pretty well. It works on phones. You can play Knights of the Republic on your phone as well. So like I'm amazed that like the Steam Deck, like it's like something with the controller layout doesn't work at all. And also, even if it has the green check mark, the game doesn't guarantee to work. I was trying to play Super Mega Baseball 4 on my Steam Deck, and every time the game loads, hit start, and then it's the little secondary loading thing, and then it takes you to the EA login screen.
Yep.
And I can't click on anything. I can't. It says they have to send an account or send a code to my account, even though I've logged out, gone to desktop mode, or I put on my phone and make sure they made sure my accounts are linked, so they shouldn't have to do this. And I'm just stuck there, so I can't play it on Steam Deck at all. But I do agree that it does feel like it is the standard. If you can get it to if you can get it to check mark at the very least, then that's.
I mean, some games don't even need the full check mark. Some games just need to be like playable and have like because if you can get it playable, if you get that playable mark, and then the only note is like maybe though some of the text doesn't like scale right or something, that really doesn't change how a lot of people play on their Steam Deck. So I think I'm just now concerned about what this is going to do to the market, because Steam Decks are sold out, or the majority sold out now, at least in the US. I don't know if that is going to mean a price increase for if they can get more stock, like when they get more stock for that. We already know that they're not looking to upgrade the Steam Deck for at least another 2-ish years minimum. Yep. Is what if I remember correctly, based on when they announced all this stuff and we're doing the interviews and the hands-on stuff for the Steam machine and all the coinciding hardware. I still think the Steam machine could be anywhere between $800 and $1,200. I think that somewhere in like 400, like that space of $400 up there. I think anywhere, because we don't know what Valve wants this to be. We don't know how much. Yeah. Like, are they working around these shortages to try and get the price lower, or are they just trying to get things to where they can just get it out the door, and that means the cost is going to get higher? We don't know, and not knowing is a big factor in like still not being able to like properly guess what these things are, even though we're learning more about this. Once we get the specs, we'll probably have a better idea. However, go ahead.
We know with Microsoft that there's gonna have to, like, when we're looking at the last story, that there's a certain amount of profitability that they have to guarantee. They can't just meet costs or just sell at cost. They have to do more, because they've invested so much into AI, and because they want to get the Xbox brand back, and because they've had all these different ventures that have not really panned out the way they want. They have to sell it in a way that makes profit. And as we've said several times, it's pretty much say it every episode, Valve can do whatever they want. They have a limitless cash supply, and so if they just want to get this out, just to sort of like make the ecosystem bigger, which still draws on people, it's just, I mean, even if they sold every single Steam machine at cost, meaning they made zero profit on a single Steam machine sold.
I mean,
it's still good for Steam, because there's more people. Yeah, there's more people in the ecosystem. There's more people using the store. There's more people. They're buying controllers. They're buying. Hey, here's a game I wasn't gonna play, but now I can play it on my big, 80-inch OLED TV. Now, yeah, let's do that now. Now I am gonna buy Silk Song or Crimson Desert or whatever it's going to be.
Some of these other games that will run at lesser, run at like these lower, the lower kind of specs, but still be able to get that 4K 60 frames per second because of whatever magic is going to be going on in the background, as some of these other interviews have said. So with that in mind, I do like most companies sell hardware at a loss, like some like consoles at a loss, or at least try to like get it as close to even as possible without having to essentially go super deep in the red. But they're not, most of the companies aren't going to make a profit on that. They're making a profit off of the games and the cut they get from the developers publishing their games on their consoles and whatnot post release, essentially. If Valve put this out at cost, or even in the green for them, and it's a little more expensive than we think it's going to be, probably up in that like $1,200 range, which I think would be where a lot of people are just like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's too much. That's way too much, because that's buying a computer, that's buying a fancy appliance or something. That's like an actual decision they have to make, versus like $800 is still a lot, but that's closer to a console pricing. So they can justify it because they're getting a PC equivalent console that can run all this stuff and whatever. If they do that, they also eventually have the door open to being like, oh, hey, stuff's cheaper now. We're going to cut the cost. Like, they're never going to have to deal with so when Nintendo released the 3DS, they put that thing at a number that I don't remember the actual number, but it did not work out for them. It did not sell like they thought it was going to. It did not like move the units. It did not entice people to do it or whatever. Year-ish later, maybe even less than that later, they cut the price by a pretty significant amount. I think it was like $50 to $100. And then it started selling really well.
Yeah.
When the Steam's not gonna have to deal with that, because like Valve doesn't care. They're already making money. They're not going to stop making money by selling this at a loss or at a profit or whatever. So whatever happens with this machine is just bonus to everything else they're working on. But if they get to a point where they've sold all the units at X amount of whatever of their development cost, their production cost, and then all the prices go down, or all the stuff that they're using gets older, and that's even with if the current state of PC manufacturing and parts doesn't go down, but those parts get older, but they're still being manufactured, those prices will still go down. And they're like, oh, well, we reached a certain threshold where we can sell this for cheaper. And they cut the price. And maybe they even do a make good on people that bought the console at full price and are like, oh, yeah, here's like a $50 gift card that you can use for games. Like, do some goodwill there. And then they cut the price. And then there's going to be a huge influx of people purchasing the now discounted console.
Yeah.
Because of that. Now, do I think that's going to happen? No.
Yeah.
I think they're going to settle on a price that they think is fair to them, or like fair to consumers, but benefits them.
I think it's going to stay. It's going to stay at that price. I doubt it. I doubt
I do not think. Now, maybe
and I think it'll be between 1,000 and 1,200.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a little bit different than the Steam Deck. I think, I think they'll do the same thing they did with the Steam Deck. I think because there's going to be the two versions launching at release, and then I think once a newer version of this comes out down the line, I think they're still going to keep producing the older one a little bit longer than they did and it's going to be probably a more substantial leap than like the Steam Deck was to the Steam Deck OLED. But when a newer version of the Steam machine comes out, I think they will keep the higher end version of the original Steam machine around, because it's probably still going to be easier to develop than the Steam Deck is. And they can offer it at a much, like, cut a couple $100 off the price and be like, hey, and if you still want to get a Steam machine but you can't afford the new one, or maybe you don't need the new one, here's the old one at like $200 off or whatever, $300 off, whatever they're willing to cut it to when their next one comes out.
Because you make a good point. The Steam machine is much easier to, like, the parts may be more expensive, but the machine itself is easier to make. Because the deck has so many other parts with with charging its screen,
it's like the console, and it's like the controller elements, like all that stuff.
All the control. Exactly. So hopefully we do hear about these. We hear information hopefully before like the summer.
I hope we get it
Just
like around like late spring,
Yeah,
like towards like
because they
end
wanted
of
to
May.
have this information. The same if not for the shortages, this information would have been out by now.
Oh yeah, because it would have been launching
They
before June.
yeah, yeah. This is something that like people should be like in Steam's perfect world. If there wasn't all these shortages, it'd be something people be pre-ordering like about around this time.
Yeah, I do want to
Um,
also say, we've given Microsoft, we've given our Microsoft concerns, we've given our Steam concerns or Valve concerns now to an extent. I also want to just quickly say, hey Sony, if you do this, you're gonna like alienate like a huge amount of your console owners. But did you read about the potential dynamic pricing?
I saw something about it, but I didn't fully read into it. So is it based on region? Is it
We don't
based
know.
on like
No,
they're
definitely not based on region. It's going to be based on like data that they have internally about sales. It's going to be sales data based. That's what like.
So what does that
It
mean?
means that
If
they're
a game's
basically
like
gauging. They're going to test the waters on these games. So there's going to be a range that the game can be offered at. They're going to test. Like they're basically going to be like, okay, what do we think the threshold for X game is going to be based on sales data, like previous games in similar genre, same stuff from the same developer, whatever. They're going to take all this data, find a range of numbers that they think is a good whatever for a starting point. Maybe they'll just launch it at like $70 and do that. And if the game's not selling, price goes down. Game's selling a lot, maybe the price goes up. And that's all based on sales data. So as soon as you open your PlayStation, you're going to have to opt into this because you're not going to have an option, especially if you're a PlayStation Plus subscriber. You have to opt into this. They're going to be like, oh, we're going to collect your data on spending, and we're going to see how much you spend or how little you spend. And then we're going to either put you in the group that we take for this data, or we're going to just leave you out of it, use that data, and basically nickel and dime you for every game you purchase based on spending across the board.
I can't think of a way to absolutely kill momentum for a game that is selling well than to be like, oh well, it's selling well, we're gonna bump up the price $10.
I don't think it's going to
Like
happen. I don't think this is going to work. But the
there's
fact that
no
they're even
way
talking about
no
it,
way that
like, is
it
asinine. This would
what you were
kill all
describing
goodwill.
earlier when you were describing it was like, yeah, they're taking into account sales data, but like that's just pricing. That's you're just describing pricing. But now but what you're saying is they're gonna like post launch, they will consider. I don't know. That just doesn't make.
If they do this, it's going to
doesn't make
kill.
sense.
It's just going to like I'm going to stop buying games on their like I'm going to stop buying digital games on PlayStation and just move off the console basics. That will get me to go back to Xbox. Like legitimately, like, or completely pivot away from PlayStation to PC because like I use my PlayStation more than I use my PC for gaming, just because it's convenient. I like it, and they've got the exclusives, right? I don't care that much about exclusives. Like, oh no, I can't. Like, Wolverine is like the one PlayStation exclusive where I'm like, I really want to play that. If I miss out on playing Wolverine, but I can just not have to spend however much money whenever I buy things on there,
Mhm.
and I get my fighting games on PC, and then I play all my other stuff on my Nintendo Switch, I will not care.
Yeah,
Like, I'll lose access to like a bunch. Like, I'll still be able to play my old games. I'll still be able to do whatever else I want to do on my PlayStation, but I'm not going to be spending digital money on PlayStation anymore because I'm not going to support that. And this is going to alienate a huge amount of people that would no doubt notice, oh, why is Wolverine $80 instead of $70 all of a sudden? Why? What's with that?
That's so.
My friend bought it at $70. Why is it $80? Why do I have to spend $10 more on this game than my friend?
It feels like, honestly, it feels like with a lot of these big companies, it's not about what can we do right. It's like, can we avoid the big, crucial, backbreaking mistake? It is playing not to lose. It's not playing to win. It's playing not to lose. It's playing not to do the one thing that's going to get you absolutely not just torn apart in media headlines. Because I think like for the most part, like big companies like a Microsoft and a Sony, they don't really care like if the headlines aren't great. They care, but it's not like, oh, this isn't going to make or break
It's not
us.
like
But if you do
it's not the
something
CEOs that care. It's not the money that cares. It's the goodwill and the name of the brand and like how
yeah,
people
but
treat
then when
the
you start
brand
getting
when they interact
into
with it.
if you start getting into like general like because imagine that with like, well, I guess they couldn't do it because there wouldn't be a PlayStation game, but imagine like
No, they can do it with
lot
any
of people
game.
play
It's
Call.
any game.
Oh,
It's
so like
any
a Call
game.
of Duty.
It's their storefront.
So Call of Duty, which is $70 on all the other storefronts, it could be $70 on the next Call of Duty. Let's say
I
they
don't
take
have
a year
the.
off, or they
I do
figure it
not
out,
have this in
and
front
the
of me
next.
to look at the specifics, but from what I understand about surge pricing, it's like when someone does it, like when they were talking about doing this for fast food restaurants, like Wendy's was going to start testing it or something. It is anything on their menu.
This will save Wendy's.
Yeah, it is like anything on their menu is going to be a digital menu where, oh, the Baconator's selling really well today. Well, that's going to go from $6 for the burger to $8 for the burger.
So apparently they've been testing this for a while, and then they noticed it finally they started doing it in the US. Discounts was so, but like,
But I think they've just been doing it for like when to discount games and stuff. Which if it's just to when to like put the game on discount, that's different than like putting a game that is like already $70 and it goes to $80, or putting a game that's $50 and bumping it up to $60. If they're going to start increasing the prices, that's different than using sales data to then judge when you need to discount a game, because that's already happening with like I know developers that do that on Steam, because that's what have you noticed that every Steam game has a 10% discount at launch, or
yes.
like early adoption.
Mm-hmm.
That's because Steam started offering that option, so you can click that when you publish a game to offer a 10% introductory thing to try and entice people to get the game earlier. So now it's just like almost a universal thing, even for major developers, to have a 10% discount at launch on Steam, because that is more, there's data that shows that you're more likely to buy a game if it's $2 off for like a $40 game. You're getting $2 off a $40 game, but if you're more likely to buy it.
Instead of every player seeing the exact same price for a game, the PlayStation Store may now show different discounts to different users simultaneously. This isn't regional pricing. This is from XDA developers. This is from today, actually. This is
okay, cool. So there's something new.
I think this might just be like a recap of what's happened, just like a later one. This isn't regional pricing that has existed all over the world. Instead, the price differences noted by users on the PS Store have been within the same regions and on similar devices with different accounts. Sony's experiment seems to adjust discounts based on factors such as store activity and past purchasing behavior.
Okay.
So
yeah,
one player might see a game discounted by 10%, while another might see a bigger percent for the exact same title. The product hasn't changed, but the price the store thinks you're willing to pay has. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Is I think
yeah.
I think it's discounts, but even then, that's scummy.
It's different discounts depending on here's a bigger discount because we think
it's
you
like,
need a big we'll get you if you get this bigger discount.
Like, so for me with Marathon, I had this conversation last night with friends in my Discord, where it's like so they were talking about, would you be willing to, like, would you be interested in getting Marathon, or if someone gifted you Marathon, would you be willing to play it? And I'm like, I am not a person that will put enough time into Marathon where if a friend offered to gift it to me to play with me, I'd be like, yes, do that, because I would feel bad, because I'd probably play it for like a week or two, maybe, and only with my friends. But this is taking that into account and being like, oh, well, you're more likely to buy Marathon, so we're going to give you a lesser discount. But if you're not willing, like if you don't have a history of buying Marathon-ish games, like shooters or extraction shooters or multiplayer games, then we're going to give you a bigger discount, because we think if we give you a certain amount of money off, it's similar to what I just said with the Steam game. It's like it's almost tricking you into being like, oh, well, it's 20% off at launch instead of 10% off. That's a good deal. I'm willing to jump in for $32 instead of $40, or instead of $38.
Oh no, Cale, my NBA 2K26 discount. Oh, it's getting bigger. It's taking over the screen.
Oh no. No. What do you mean? My dad is they're gonna charge me $20 more for 2K. They're gonna look at my hours in 2K and be like, this guy's gonna buy it. This guy's gonna buy it. Oh, we got him. We got him. And I'm like, no, I buy it physically. What do you mean? I buy it when it's on sale physically. You're not getting me with this. I'm paying less.
Galactic Race is going to come out and said, we have given you the price of $150. I go, damn it! All right, here you go.
Yeah, then they got you, and they're just going to keep doing it forever.
Damn it!
Yeah, you're playing in the system. Anyways, that wasn't supposed to be a huge segment on it. That was just me wanting to say, hey, Sony, that sucks. Don't do it. But now we got a little bit more detail on it. There you go. That sucks. Don't do it.
Well, we got to Xbox. We've done Valve. We've done PlayStation. I guess that leaves Nintendo.
They,
Hey, you want to talk about getting goodwill back? When
just
if I told you
editor, put it in the national anthem.
I'm the editor. What do you mean?
And by national anthem, I mean the like Nintendo theme.
Yeah, the Mario the Mario theme song in the background. No, it's the what, the peanut butter gamer one where it's singing about Luigi or whatever. That one in the background. No, if I told you 3 weeks ago that Nintendo would somehow get people to be cheering on their lawyers, would you have believed me?
The famously
Yeah, the Nintendo ninjas.
vicious, cutthroat Nintendo.
There are
lawyer.
people cheering this on because this is the one time that everybody can agree. Like, okay, I want to highlight this. So this has been an ongoing thing. So the Nintendo lawsuit is specifically about the tariffs. This isn't about the White House using Nintendo properties for their dumb meme stuff. Like they just did the Nintendo.
I'm sure Nintendo is aware of that and isn't happy about it.
They
but...
said they've said no to that too. The Pokemon company finally released a statement on it too. We'll get to that in a second. This is specifically about tariffs. But no, because did you see the most recent one? The one for like a couple days ago?
Recent, like White House.
Yeah, the White House meme.
I tried to
They did Nintendo Wii Sports bowling strike, and then it's an airstrike.
Like the air.
These people are not human.
They're so deranged.
Anyways, I don't want to get off on that tangent because we're about to get off on this tangent, but we'll talk about people decrying that stuff in a bit. So this is Nintendo of America specifically, but obviously Nintendo of America is basically just the sidearm of Japan. And this is them suing the United States Treasury Department, Homeland Security, Customs and Border Patrol to get money it paid back. It paid the United States government as a result of Trump's controversial tariffs because they were deemed illegal by Supreme Court last month. So a whole bunch of fallout's happening from that as we speak. In the lawsuit, Nintendo lawyers argued that since February 1st, Trump has collected money from companies shipping products into the United States via unlawful executive orders, imposing tariffs on imports from a long list of countries around the world. This was actually first reported by Aftermath, but we're reading from Zach Zweisen over at Kotaku. Quote, Nintendo of America has standing to sue because it is the importer of record for goods that were subject to tariffs. Nintendo also claims the company has suffered injury from those illegal Trump-ordered tariffs. In Nintendo 25, Nintendo was forced to delay pre-orders for the Nintendo Switch 2 and later raise prices on some accessories as a result of Trump's worldwide tariffs. Nintendo's lawyers add that the company will, quote, suffer imminent and irreparable harm for the tariffs it has paid, unquote, if the court does not force the federal government to pay back what it is owed with some interest. And this is the why of this situation. Quote, regardless of the lawsuit, this lawsuit is necessary because despite the Supreme Court's ruling and the defendant's concession regarding the necessities of refunds, Nintendo and other importers who paid the illegally conducted IEEPA duties are not guaranteed the refund to which they are entitled, absent this court providing such relief. So there's a whole element of this that's going on. This is the only time people have ever cheered on Nintendo's lawyers going after anybody. This is good. We want this because this is putting precedent in that the tariffs need to be not just giant corporations or single entities can be paid back damages from tariffs. There might actually be a way to windfall back some of that stolen money that these corrupt people
that would come back to. Yeah, ideally some could come back to. I mean, here's the thing: it's more likely if any group's going to be able to get their money back from these tariffs, it's going to be big corporations with big legal
that'll
teams.
Still help.
And Nintendo's just the most
and stuff.
Yes, it overall is a good thing. Do we as citizens are we expecting?
No,
to get
we're not going to get anything back.
Check? No, we're absolutely not. And
what about the tariff check?
Oh yeah,
$1,200 that every household.
Let me check my mail right now. I'm sure it's in here.
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't just another lie to cover up other things that are going on, just like the war that's going on right now. You know,
he'll die before he gives up that check. You know, God willing. But yeah.
Anyways, I did want to mention the other stuff here. Is so the Master Chief VO spoke out against his Halo stuff being used. Because they did a Halo thing with it.
In case you haven't seen all this stuff, they've been using Call of Duty, Halo.
They're trying to appeal to the kids.
They're trying to appeal to kids and trying to be like, hey, look, war crimes are cool.
Yeah, by just
And
putting gameplay stuff or like kill streaks or whatever on these videos of them committing war crimes. But anyways, Master Chief VO spoke out about it. The Dan Green, the voice actor of Yu-Gi-Oh, spoke out. Yugi and the original Yu-Gi-Oh spoke out against it because they were using Yu-Gi-Oh clips along with other anime for it. Multiple others have done it. Uh, there was an RFK released a video of like what looked like a Melee character select screen and stuff, doing like a Smash Melee ripoff. Someone recreated that model of RFK and put it in actual Melee as a mod that's usable in the game. But I want to specifically focus on Yu-Gi-Oh here, so Konami, because the official Yu-Gi-Oh like account for the anime said, "Hey, no," to the White House. It said, it has come to our attention that a post on the White House official X account used footage from the anime series Yu-Gi-Oh! This was made without any authorization from the rights holders. Regarding this matter, no one associated with the manga or anime had any involvement, and no permission was granted for the use of this intellectual property. This was made like pretty soon after the meme went up, so they were like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was one of the fastest like actual brands to say, no, that's bad, don't do that. Which is crazy to me because they have such a small presence on social media. The official Yu-Gi-Oh like card game account on Twitter, I think, has like less than 20,000 followers, and I don't think isn't even verified. Like they've mismanaged that property so badly on social media that the fact that this happened is really funny to me. I just wanted to highlight that because it's very funny that Nintendo is suing the government, multiple branches of the government.
Yeah, I think it's so funny that like it's cool to see like instances where people are like nice to like gamers and like genuine fans, and then like when these fucking ghouls try to like use their stuff to promote their own stuff, they quickly like shut it down. Like a great example is Tom Petty and the late great musician. When they used "Love Is a Long Road" for the GTA 6 trailer, the official Tom Petty estate was like, "Oh, we're so happy to see like this great reaction. Everyone's listening to the song. Fans love fans talk about how much they love this song. They love, and like, he loved Florida, and that's where the game's gonna be. Like, it's based off the Florida location. That's great. And then like Trump was using Tom Petty songs to like at his rallies, and the estate was quickly like, yeah, you better knock that shit the fuck off.
Yeah,
we don't.
A bunch of musicians have been like that too, and they keep using musicians that they think are just going to be okay with this, but then the musicians are like they're trying to reclaim musicians for like themselves, which doesn't work.
I looked it up, and because I was looking at the Tom Petty thing, and there's a Wikipedia article called "Musicians Who Oppose Donald Trump's Use of Their Music."
You just want to roll off a couple? There you go. Oh, it's long. Okay, never mind. Don't worry about it.
Hold on, I'll run through some. ABBA, Adele, Aerosmith, Andrew Lloyd Webber, The Beatles, Beyonce, Earth, Wind and Fire, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Elton John, Foo Fighters, Guns N' Roses, Kenny Loggins, Kesha, Linkin Park, Neil Young, Nickelback, Olivia Rodrigo, Ozzy Osbourne, Panic at the Disco, Pharrell Williams, Phil Collins, Prince and Queen. We got all the royalty. Radio.
We got Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness too. Like that's all. It's everybody's here.
A literal queen, Sabrina Carpenter, Tom Petty, like I said, the White Stripes, SZA, Spinal Tap, Rihanna, just like so many Grammys and Platinum Awards between people who are
and like... how many people that have those awards are on the side of this. That like I wish there was an opposite article of people that have endorsed, because that would be a much smaller and much more insignificant list of artists.
Kid Rock,
some country music stars.
Separately to the individual cases that I listed, a group of artists including Mick Jagger, Lord, Sia, Blondie, Sheryl Crow, Green Day, of course, Lionel Richie, Elvis Costello, Keith Richards, Steven Tyler, and Roseanne Cash, in collaboration with the Artists' Rights Alliance, have signed a letter demanding that politicians seek permission before playing their music at campaign rallies and public events. So yeah, stay on his ass.
Yeah, so I
just
looked up
for a lot of things, not just music.
I just looked up this video of the RFK thing, and it is just him. It's just a melee video of him fighting a donut because he flipped the food pyramid. And then
Mm.
my buddy Trade War in response goes, at Nintendo of America, seeing this administration use footage of your game makes me want to purchase your products lesson. Ah, forget it. It's Melee. I need a different approach. At Nintendo of America, this looks like a modded version of Super Smash Bros. Melee. Get them.
I've seen a lot of people do that first version where it's like, this is like influencing the way I see these products, and I have to tell to buy them more. But no, that's funny. Yeah, it's good to
Yeah,
go
because
on.
that's how you have to appeal to Japanese
Um,
companies, is like
yeah,
to their
'cause I
sense of
saw
like
he did.
business and everything.
Well, because I saw he did. They also posted like an AI image of him like fighting like a Twinkie in like a WWE
Of course
SmackDown,
they did.
and like, but then again, if I told WWE about that, they'd be like, "Oh, that's a great idea. Actually, we should do that," because they're
Yeah, and then
fucking just
AEW would be
inventing
like,
better than-
okay, bring out like the effigy of RFK and let people like throw stones at it on live television.
Hangman's gonna, instead of Swerve's house, he's gonna burn down the RFK.
Yeah.
effigy.
Anyways, you want to talk about another death?
What?
Do you not?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I mean, this one's been dead. We have to keep throwing
Well,
dirt on.
hey, if you weren't, if your neck wasn't fucking up, we would have recorded this on the day it died. So this is your fault that I had to make that
Well,
joke and it's not as good.
I'm old. Sorry.
Yeah, I know, old man. I know. I'm used to it.
You
Anyways,
know what? It
Yeah.
wasn't old. You know what didn't have a big long life before it eventually croaked. And that's
Never-
Highguard.
never got to reach. Never even got to see. It wasn't even it was barely a twinkle in the eye of its parents before they murdered
God.
it in cold blood. Anyways, Highguard's
Yeah.
dead now.
I think it's did we cover this already, that it was like dead, or is this like
No,
is there- is this
it's
the new
dead
stuff
as of the 14th. So it is gone now.
Okay, yeah.
So
It
because
is gone.
if we recorded on Thursday, it would have been the day before it went offline. So
Okay, so yeah, we missed the funeral. That's
well,
fine.
not really, because it was already dead. Like the numbers had already completely cratered again. Like
everyone gathered round. We were in the hospital. We said our goodbyes. It had to be done.
Yeah, like they're just like a bunch of developers on the game spoke out about things, basically like saying the game went downhill since the trailer was posted. Josh Sobel, who I say Sobel like the Pokemon, I think it's Sobel, but who's a tech artist at Wildlight, basically said he stood by that statement. Suggested he was stressed, devastated, angry, and running on 2 hours of sleep, which led him to being a bit more inflammatory with his statements. Original comments have since been deleted, but Sobel's like the Insider Gaming, who we're reading from, I believe this is Grant Taylor Hill. Shout out him, being like, basically this is just an explanation of this. I stand by the intent behind much of what I said, but I phrased it poorly, and some of my anger was misdirected. I believe the online discourse around Highguard and some of the very dark corners that may have accelerated the timeline of our failure beyond the natural outcome of reasonable critique, but it wasn't the primary cause, and I don't personally believe the ultimate outcome would have been thoroughly different without it. There were a lot of elements involved, and there's no way to know how it would have gone under different circumstances. Which is what we've been saying the entire time. No one element of how this game was rolled out or shown or marketed or anything is the downfall. The one constant that we've said since release is that it feels like the people in charge of this game want it to be Apex Legends again, without understanding that the market is different. And that has held up, including in reports of what has happened internally at that studio.
Yes. And he kind of touches on, there's no way know how it would have gone under different circumstances. That's what we've been talking about with in relation to the Game Awards thing, which is what kind of sparked this whole, watch period for how this game was going to do, was that we don't know what would have happened if that game had just, been dropped in the middle of the Game Awards. I would imagine it probably still would have not done very well. I imagine it would have. I imagine the reception would have been less negative, but I just think it just would have been a much more dim, much more muted reception. It would have maybe, maybe it stays alive a little longer because there's less negativity and there's less like. But also it just seems like
there's a world where this game is still alive and probably does have a shelf life of at least a year or more, where it gets through the content that was in the backlog that we know about.
Sure. Yeah.
But there's no world where this game, in its current state or any state,
I don't even think it.
No,
I
I,
think
I
they
think there's a
had
world
year.
where, depending on how it was released and how it was
They made
marketed,
content. They were planning content as if it was going to be at least a year.
that's what I mean. Well, so again, with game development, and this is something that's common across the board for like most games, whether they're live service or not, like any game with like updates to it, essentially.
Mhm.
Games are typically developed to go, like the gold part of the game is done and being polished, and while that is going, there's a team working on the post-launch roadmap, the post-launch content that is usually done by launch. There is almost a year of content complete, ready to roll out for the game in some shape or form. So what that means is that for Highguard, by the time Highguard launched, not only was all the stuff that ended up coming out within season 1 and season 2 done, there was also probably at least another 3 months of content done, and then another good chunk for like 5-6 months mostly done or completely concepted to the point where it would be done by the time that got along. So whether that was done or not, let's just take 5 months. There's an easy world where this game launches, not like Apex Legends where post Game Awards this gets announced and maybe it's a February release instead of a January release, or maybe even if it's still a January release, they're just full on marketing. They're partnering with influencers. They're doing hands-on events that are publicized and stuff. This game launches to much more fanfare, much more. We know more about the game before it launches, so there's not as critical of an early kind of take on the game because we don't know what it is and we never got to see what it was, other than like secondhand information from these influencers and people that got to go play the game ahead of time, like a week ahead of the launch. If that changed, if a lot of things changed ahead of the launch, not even counting Keeley stuff. So let's say it's still the final thing at the Game Awards and they have a month from the game, like about a month and a half from the Game Awards to the week before launch to do all of that. They had it all planned out. They did it all. There's an easy world where this game survives post-launch. There's a much better reception to the game, and it makes it through at least 6 months, if not a year, of being on the market before it maybe peters off because this game didn't have the legs. Or maybe within that year they find a way to give it the legs and they find a way to give it that second boost or something. What ended up happening is what the most likely outcome for most of these live service games is, though, to a massively detrimental degree. Like, this is not going to happen to even a lot of the quote unquote failures of live service games, because there are a lot of games that come out and do make it a year, even if they are a internal failure, like deemed as a failure internally, because they already have that content done or mostly done, but they've essentially like after the first month they've scoped out, oh well, we're not going to make X, or like they're going to put it on discount in 6 months and maybe hope to make as much money as possible while still supporting the game as much as they can.
I think a great example of that is and I thought we were going to talk about this episode, but we can always save it for like its own episode. But Marathon right now, it hasn't had the same peaks as like Arc Raiders. It actually didn't even have, at least on PC, I don't think it even has a peak that was as high as like day one Highguard. But the difference is that Highguard lost 95% of its player base within a couple of days. And Marathon has been very consistent in retaining most of its players pretty much every day since it's come out. I think it's always been like at least 50,000, and listen,
we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Don't worry about it. We'll get to that. I will say, to add to your point,
I am employed.
Yes,
but
56K currently, usual average of about 52K over the course of its since launch, and its all-time peak is 88K, which is about a little less than 10K less than what Marathon peaked at, or Highguard peaked at.
And so it's having the natural, like, game comes out and then it kind of peters off a little. Like, games do not, for the most part, go up after they come out.
Well, okay, I had this conversation with Marvel Rivals.
There are
Marvel
exceptions
recently
to this, but Marvel Rivals is another example. Like,
here's the thing. When I had this conversation with Marvel Rivals,
new season comes out, whoop, and then it goes back down.
But Marvel Rivals, like, people say, oh, dead game, Marvel Rivals, dead game, blah blah blah. First off, any game that has more, I will preach this to everybody. Depending on the scale of your game, if you have more than 2K players playing your game at any time, your game has a healthy matchmaking. Like, if there's 2K players playing your game at any time, if it's a multiplayer game, that can lead to healthy matchmaking. A lot of fighting games have like 2K players.
There are 86,000 playing right now, and we are at the very end of a season.
So,
where it usually is
but
at its
here's
lowest.
the point. So the peak is like 640K, right? 640K, something like that.
That was launched.
That was launch.
That
first
was like
season
New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve
during season 0. Yeah.
weekend. Yeah.
So here's the deal: 640K never reached that peak
Couple
again.
that was a couple weeks after launch.
And so that's season 0, right after full launch, right after 1.0, right heading into season 1. Immediately after that, craters down. And I say craters as if that's a bad thing when you're jumping from 600K to like 400K people. And it kept like 400K to 200K for like basically the entire, like half of last year. And then it slowly started dipping, but you still see dip, increase every time a big update happens. So at the start of a season, increase. Then it dips, and then halfway through the season, once they started doing half the faster turnaround half seasons, up, and then a smaller up, dip again, and then it reached a new like 6-month peak when Deadpool launched in January, and it's been on the decrease now, and now it's averaging less than 100K players per day, basically. But that'll increase again once we launch season 7 later this week. So with games like Marvel Rivals, those games cannot be. And this is the same with Apex Legends. Apex Legends has more players now than it has in years. Overwatch has more players right now than Marvel Rivals does, and that it's hit its all-time peak on Steam recently. These games live and die by flow. And that is super important for people to understand, because people will just look at a number and be like, that's a smaller number. That's bad. Not understanding that every company runs things differently. Every company has data to be like, what do we need to sustain? Like most games can sustain on, like, if it's not a AAA game, like I don't know what Bungie needs to do for Marathon to reach like the money it needs to sustain. I'm not going to guess that. I'm not going to guess what Marvel Rivals needs. I'm going to tell you right now, Marvel Rivals exceeded whatever number they wanted it to by like metric tons, and they're going to be on a gravy train no matter how many, like if that game keeps over 550K players, that game's still going to be raking in money. But like for Overwatch, the Jeff Kaplan interview showed internally they wanted Overwatch 1 to make so much money that it was unfeasible for like the team to do that, and that detrimentally impacted the game like multiple ways. So they basically tied a noose around the neck of the development team and said, do this or you're going to not be the development team anymore.
Oh, that's right. Okay. I was wondering, like, man, Overwatch had an insane peak last month. It like jumped up to like 166,000. It was the talent season when they had like seven new heroes, a bunch of
six new heroes like day one, like new additions to stuff, new store stuff, new battle pass relaunching to Overwatch 1. Like the game's in a really good place right now, and they're listening to Marvel Rivals and Overwatch. Now, I want to see what the nerfs and everything for the new season are for Marvel Rivals before we judge that. But this could be the nerf season where they're just like everybody gets nerfed, and we're trying to bring down the power level of everything. So that's going to hurt casual players, but really improve like the high level stuff. So more players will come back at the higher level, and then there'll be like more discourse. So that's going to be a mess for a little bit.
Us, the higher level players.
Yeah, us, the people who, I played with Shay for the first time in a month the other day, and I had a miserable time. It was not fun. But no, the point being, like, there's so many elements that go into keeping a live service game healthy that people just don't take into account or just look at a number. And we'll get to that here in a second. But the point being, Highguard in it as it was basically designed was doomed to fail because they did not take into account that element of it, I guess. And then also the people who are running that studio just did not understand that they didn't have the sauce to do Apex Legends again.
Yeah. And they, that's really what we've talked about a lot, is that they thought they could do it again when they kind of, and that success they had kind of clouds your judgment, because it's like, oh well, it worked first time, why wouldn't it work
7
again?
years ago?
And
it worked 7 years ago.
7 years ago.
I don't know.
It's a shame because I said it's sad, and kind of is a victim of their own, kind of a
seeing a game flop is never fun. We're not happy that this game flopped.
It's never fun, especially it's because a game that they genuinely did want to make, but they also just misread the market, doing the decision to do a shadow drop versus like doing early access, getting it out in testing, getting in the hands of players before you do a full release.
And that's especially hard in free to play games. It's hard because in order to make your money back on a free to play game, especially when it takes a lot of development, and a studio based in LA with a big team, you have to be able to get a lot of players engaged. With a game like a Marathon or an Arc Raiders, even if the player falls off, hey, you at the very least you got $40 out of them. And maybe they bought a deluxe edition, or maybe they bought like a battle pass once. But even if they don't, you got $40. If you 90 almost 100,000 people tried Highguard
And bounced off
and
basically
then
immediately, fell off a cliff, and they probably didn't interact with the store at all outside of the free
probably
battle
didn't buy
pass.
anything. And in fact, yeah, because they're like, oh, cool, a free
A
battle
lot of
pass.
people didn't even interact
And
with the free
so-
battle pass.
Yeah, I'm sure they didn't play enough to
Probably
earn
didn't
any
know the battle
currency
pass was
that would
free.
They probably didn't play enough to earn any currency that would unlock anything.
Hey, you know what would have been a good
Um,
marketing? Hey, we're giving the battle pass out for free for season 0 or season 1 or whatever.
Isn't that what they did?
They did. Did they market it?
Free? No.
Exactly.
I
That's what I'm
think they
saying.
did.
That would have been great marketing. Hey,
Yeah.
everything
Say what,
available in
say
season
what you
1.
want about
Free.
Marathon. Say what you want about Marathon. I can't go to a single gaming website like news, anything at all, reviews, anything without seeing Marathon ads. They are
Look, it
They
turned
are trying.
public opinion on like the negatives of that game. There are still people talking about them, but they're talking about them in a way that you would normally talk about a game. Now Marathon is like considered a like really solid experience that's not for everybody, but is doing good things, and people are really liking it when they get into it. Like that was not the case what people thought when like a year like after Concord, people thought it was just gonna kill Bungie. Like Bungie was just gonna become a support studio after this. I think with the success of what Marathon is, even if it doesn't become like a runaway success, like this, like it's just gonna let Bungie do more Bungie things. Like who knows? Do we know how much of the team was working on Marathon?
I would say a good deal, because man, is Destiny 2 kind of
but like Destiny 2's been on like life support since the final shape or whatever.
Yeah,
they have that small team working on it, but they have 3 teams.
They hit the Star Wars emergency lever, and that didn't even do very well. Yeah,
I forgot they had Star Wars in that
I'm
game.
not exactly sure about the size, but
okay,
you do make a good point about.
I just want to like, my point is with Marathon being out now, and that team's still going to have a sizable team working on it, but now they've already been working on whatever's next for them.
Yeah.
So is that whether that's maybe that's a revamp?
They're working the feedback, and they're making quick changes already in terms of like they tried to like change with like combat audio and how far away you can hear fights, and immediately people are like, no, this isn't, now it's like a battle royale, or now it's like I can hear people across the map, and now it's too far, and they're like, all right, we'll change it back. And so they're quick on that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So with this, with that, I think that's a good, like, Marathon is at a point where it's like, okay, cool, Marathon is doing this thing. Now what's Bungie going to do next? Are they going to go back to Destiny 2 and like try and revamp it? Maybe they see the success of Overwatch just rebranding back to Overwatch, and they just relaunch Destiny and like release all the content or something.
Do they listen to everyone who's saying that they like Marathon but not like the extraction shooter, and start working on
single player Marathon
mode
stuff?
The single player mode, yeah,
totally.
I mean, we can do a bigger discussion about Marathon, but I was thinking about it this weekend, because I know we got a ton of other stories to talk about.
Yeah, but these are all like shorter for the most part. But yeah, we'll keep this contained.
Sure. I kept thinking about like whatever all these people who are like, oh, I want to play a campaign, or I don't want to do extraction mode, or I just want to do a PvP and all this stuff. And I remember I was listening to Game S Mornings, and Lex Letty, she said that Marathon is a very good game, but I can't help but think about the potential great game we could have gotten. And I think about it more like this. I think Marathon as it is a great game. I think it's a great extraction shooter. It's much more. I didn't really realize I needed a more exciting version of Arc Raiders, because Arc Raiders was getting a little stale. It was getting a little boring just because it's a little like it's too PvE cooperative focused, and it just really makes no sense to ever be PvP oriented, because then you just get put in those lobbies all the time, and now you're just doing that all the time, and then now it's not. And like story wise doesn't make sense, because it's like, yeah, it's humans and robots. Why would the humans be fighting each other? Like the whole thing is like we all live underground together. Like why would we go above ground and immediately start fighting each other? It makes no sense. But I kept thinking about Marathon, and like what is the best version of this game? What has story and PvE and but also has the extraction stuff. And like, and I kept thinking about one game, Kale. I kept thinking about the Division
Hmm.
and how it has your really good, your surprisingly really good story, excellent world building. I mean, massive entertainment. We saw that with Star Wars Outlaws. We've seen that with the Avatar game, and especially with their two Division games. What they did with New York, with this post-apocalyptic New York and Washington. They've got the story. You can play different difficulties that unlock different rewards. You've got PVE. It's got all the stuff has matchmaking. There's like these special missions you can do, which are like strikes or dungeons, where it's extra difficulty, and you get better rewards. And then if you like extraction stuff, they have the dark zone. You go into the dark zone, you can get some pretty good gear there. If you want the really good gear, you got to extract that. It's got its basic PvP. It's got all the skill. It's got all this stuff. And the one thing I think that stopped, and here's the thing, the Division did very well for Ubisoft. I think the
It's still
one thing
doing
that
well.
stopped it, still doing well. And if you want to try it, it's like, I'm pretty sure it's like $3 on Steam right now. Like it's like Division 2, you can get like, I thought I just saw like on a crazy sale. Oh no, it's back up. Still, just missed it. Because it's like an anniversary event. It was like it was like $3 like just a few days ago. I'm sure it'll have another big sale at the next like big Steam sale. The one thing I think stopped it from being like a juggernaut with like permanent staying power is the combat. Because the cover stuff was cool, but also the combat was just all the enemies were really bullet spongy. Like you're playing you're doing like the elite tier missions, and you're just emptying like multiple rounds into the same guy just who's wearing like hockey pads, and he's just like, it takes like 5 minutes of straight shooting him for him to go down. And I think that's what kind of turned people off. If you took everything about like Division content with like the campaign,
You took
the
the
extraction stuff,
wireframe
all
work
that
of
stuff,
the Division and basically put that
and
in
and
Marathon.
gave the marathon combat, the sauce, the visual looks, the cool stuff with the factions. I mean, you'd have a game that I would probably not stop playing, and I think you'd also have a game that I think would do
Much better in
numbers,
terms of
like
talking about,
serious,
yeah.
serious numbers. But I bring this up, I think where we haven't seen, this is what we see today with Marathon is not the final product. This is a game that, as we've seen with Destiny, they're going
Oh,
to
it'll
adapt
evolve.
and
But
evolve
Bungie's
over time.
become really good at evolving their world over
They're
years.
really, really good at
I'm
this.
see
Um,
that's the issue. So what you said hasn't like really changed my opinion on what Marathon is in terms of like what I would be into about it. But the fact that I
mhm,
know it's Bungie and was never super. I played Destiny 2. Oh god, I don't even remember what expansion I played. I played the original Destiny for a little bit on like PS4
mhm,
back in college with some friends, and then I
mhm,
bounced off of it. But then I went when Destiny 2 came out with like one of its expansions, the Shadow one or whatever that one was called.
mhm.
Um, I played through the base game and then did some of the raid,
Shadowkeep. Does that sound right?
something like that. I don't know. I
Yeah,
I
got
basically
it.
played through
Like
the
there's,
base game and then a little bit of whatever that DLC was, and I had a good time with it. I think it was a really cool world and stuff. I think Marathon's has that same vibe. A little less appealing to me because I'm more into like the Destiny ish kind of world than the Marathon ish kind of world. But
mhm,
everything I hear my friends talking about the game, I'm like, that's cool. All the cool interactions that they have while they're playing, is like cool. And then knowing that Bungie's going to do a lot of really cool stuff to build out the game continuously over the next couple of years while whatever they're working on in the background is being worked on, like
mhm,
that's really cool. And that's probably what will like eventually get me to get the game on discount, or if it comes to PS Plus or whatever ends up happening, I'll probably
mhm,
give it a go at some point. But the idea of it is like I'm just happy that it's good and that it's doing well, because now maybe I don't have a lot of faith in whatever multiplayer kind of whatever, because the the Horizon Zero Dawn multiplayer spinoff
mhm,
looks cool, has the visual
mhm,
flair, and like if it works
mhm.
then great, if not then whatever. But we still haven't seen Fair Game since that got announced.
I don't know if we'll see fair games.
That's the one
I
that people are like, I don't think that game's coming out, because I think that one's more of just a live service whatever game. Well, because the concept of, you remember Hyenas? It's the one that
God,
was Creative Assembly the Sega devs,
Yeah, that does sound
where it's like
familiar.
in space and like these unique zones where you're doing like raids against each other. It was like one of the first.
Mhm.
I don't think it was like an extraction shooter. It was almost like an extraction hero shooter. Like before extraction shooters were
Yeah.
like a thing. Like before that was like the term
Mhm.
people used for it and everything. But when that game got announced, I was like, this is a really interesting concept. All the characters have like a real flair to them, and I think the idea is really cool. And then they did the play testing for that game, like live play testing for that game, as if it was about to like going to come out in a couple years, and then it got canceled like a year later. And I was like, okay, if this game is flopping, then I have a lot less faith in these other games that are similar concepts or look similar but don't have the same flair, because I think you need a mix of visual flair, some kind of really
Mhm.
unique sauce, and then like the concept has to have a good loop to it, or a
Mhm.
good, or like you can't just have like a cool concept with no loop. You have to have the loop that works, and I don't think a lot of these live
I
service games have that.
I genuinely firmly believe that Marathon has that. I can
Good.
definitely speak to as I played about 27 hours, and I've got friends who are like Desmond is at 32, and then my friend Mikhail, who aka Reader Greb, who actually has
Yep.
a great blog post about Marathon that he put out today on his
Yep. I
blog.
saw it.
57 hours. He's more than doubled what I put into this game.
You guys have
He's
put
really
more
come
out.
into it.
He's put more hours to that than I put into Pacopia. So
Yeah, he's. I also did look at my Destiny 2 hours at a sickening 440. So yeah, I put a I had
yeah,
a
I think I
lot
did. I
of
think I did like
time in that. But
28.
I didn't do like the big crazy raids. I did
Neither.
story stuff. I did strikes. I did
Yeah,
public events. I did just
I get it.
yeah I yeah.
Uh,
But a lot of time.
Speaking of games that have, well, I was gonna do like a disgusting game segue here, but this is more a disgusting company. We have an update on from today actually. So this is the one of the few stories that we're fully putting into the show from today. But Krafton has been deemed like they in court are now must rehire the fired CEO of Unknown Worlds Entertainment, the developer of Subnautica. So this is a summary from Space Ghost. So Kari over on this is her blue sky, but she basically summed it up as judge orders Subnautica 2 studio CEO fired by Krafton to be reinstated and let him handle its early access release. Tid Gill is reinstated as CEO of Unknown Worlds immediately with full control of the studio. He now decides when and how Subnautica 2 launches in early access. The 250 million bonus tied to the game's success is back in play. Court filings say Krafton CEO used ChatGPT to brainstorm ways to avoid paying the bonus, which that is the biggest thing. There's a section of this lawsuit. I didn't get to read all of it, but I did go actually look at it from pages 32 to 37. It's like a I don't even know how to describe it. It's like reading a bad punchline of people saying, "Hey, don't use AI to like try
Try to
and
do
parse
crime.
legal stuff or whatever." And the CEO
Or
just
yeah,
ignores
anything
him,
illegal.
like ignores his advisors and goes to ChatGPT about like all this stuff and it just uses that as like ways to. It's so stupid. But this is from
It'd be
Jason.
funny. It'd be
Yeah, go
funny if
ahead.
the Chat GPT was also like, I
Not
hear
legal
your
advice.
question, but
Not legal advice.
but
Yeah.
I don't think I should be saying this to you.
This is from
Yeah, this
Jason
is
Schreier
some.
over at Bloomberg. He goes, a judge said Monday that video game publisher Krafton Inc. must reinstate Ted Gill less than a year after firing the former chief executive officer of subsidiary Unknown Worlds Entertainment, maker of the highly anticipated video game Subnautica 2. In the ruling, the judge in Delaware Chancery Court said that Krafton had violated the terms of its contract with the leadership of Unknown Worlds when it fired Gill and fellow executives Charlie Cleveland and Max McGuire, also the co-founders, last summer. Quote, to remedy these breaches, Gill is reinstated as CEO of Unknown Worlds with full operational authority over the studio, wrote the judge. In a statement, Krafton spokesman said that while we respectfully disagree with today's rulings, we are evaluating our options as we determine our path forward, and that further litigation over damages is still pending. The spokesperson added.
We're not mad. Please don't put in the paper that we're mad.
Then he goes, at the heart of the legal battle was a 250 million bonus that was attached to Krafton's acquisition of Unknown Worlds in 2021, which ties back into last week's discussion of the tax of basically like all these developers that purchased studio, or all these companies that purchased studios or purchased talents or founded studios in like 2020, 2021 during the boom of like the COVID video game era, with like a basically like a 0% return rate on these investments. or like these studios. Then they also gave out like massive bonuses and stuff as incentive to agree to the deal because they had all this money coming in from all these games. So obviously Krafton published like PUBG and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I love that your face, the face you just made. But yeah,
I read ahead a little.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's how the deal, here's how this payout deal works. The deal contract stipulated that the bonus would be paid out to Unknown Worlds executives and staff if the company hit certain revenue targets by the end of 2025, with an option to extend the period to June 2026, which obviously would be kind of screwed right now because of everything that's going on. But wait, if Unknown Worlds earned more than $69.8 million in revenue, Krafton was obligated to pay $3.12 for each additional dollar of sales, up to a cap of $250 million, according to legal filings. As part of the ruling, the judge extended the earnout period to September 15th, 2026, with an option to extend it further to March 15th, 2027. So the judge is taking into account that the period where they were supposed to, be earning
basically the year that got lost in there. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, well, yeah, that last July they fired at 3. Yeah, this is and then it's kind of he gets into just sort of rehashing the old thing.
Yeah. So what Kim did here basically was he used ChatGPT to try and get legal advice and it failed miserably.
So right.
Yeah, like it is.
Kim consulted ChatGPT for a strategy according to judge and came up with, when he saw the numbers. Okay, so the turmoil began in May 2025. Krafton's finance team put together earnout projections. Krafton expected the game to sell 1.67 million copies, which would trigger an earnout payment ranging from 191.8 million to 242 million. When he saw the numbers, Krafton CEO Cheng and Kim scrambled to find a way out of the earnout, according to the judge's ruling, which quoted messages from Kim calling it, quote, a bad deal, saying the bonus would make him seem like a, quote, pushover, which I don't, what do you mean a push? Like, did you honor the deal? This doesn't make sense. Like, yeah, you honored a deal. You gave the people who made the game the payout that you guys agreed to, and you have a successful game.
But he's a businessman in gaming. Scott, you know how business people in gaming do. We're gonna talk about EA in a little bit. But
they like things like business people like things like reputation and like
no, they
like
don't.
handshake deals. Like yeah, but like
no, they don't. This is why we're in a completely different era.
This is why I push back against like the idea. It's like, oh, you should only hire like gamers, or only gamers, people who know the gaming industry should work in like the higher corporate executive stuff for gaming. It's like, no, you need fucking like business people with their like old school business like mentality, because like they don't do shit like this. They do it. Listen, there's a bunch of other like crappy shit they do, but they don't do dumb shit like this because
we're also talking about South Korea too. So. But like,
I don't know how their business culture is like at all. But
the whole point here, they're also going to try and be an AI first company. Remember we talked about that. So
they did say that.
Basically, what this dude is doing is he like continue if you want to read more. But like this dude's an idiot.
Kim consulted ChatGPT for a strategy, and came up with an internal task force that he called Project X. Oh, you're right. Yeah. What is this with people who love AI and calling things X? Their goal was to negotiate a deal. Their goal is either to negotiate a deal with Gil and his team or take over Unknown Worlds. In the weeks that followed, Krafton cut off marketing and other publishing duties and stopped paying vendors, impeding plans to release Subnautica 2. In August, Gil continued negotiating with Krafton of the earnout. The task stalled at the end of 2025. Let's see.
They're basically sabotaging the game to try and get Gil and his team to agree to a deal.
Yeah, and so like essentially there was back and forth because the judge found that like Cleveland and McGuire, who were the two other executives, had like secretly had downloaded company data. But even the judge wrote in their decision that those actions were done, quote, in response to an escalating corporate emergency and were not done to enrich themselves, steal data, or sell secrets. They were like, we're getting fucked. This is bullshit.
Yeah, we need to make sure we have stuff backed up in case we need to do something with it.
Yeah, because we're not trying to like, make money. We're trying to like save our careers. And
it's just like when a company locks people out of their emails during an exit interview, so they don't have a chance to like get their email addresses like backed up. So you have to like preemptively do that stuff if you feel like you're in danger. It's the same thing. Moral of the story: this is all stupid. Like, this dude is an idiot. This entire situation was brought on because they wanted to save money for their company and not reward people at the developers for doing a good job on this game that is a beloved game, like a beloved IP that people are very much looking forward to. This game cost a whole year of issues, probably going to push the release date back for the game even further now, even though
Yeah.
it was
I will-
reportedly in those old reports pretty close to releasing in early access at the time.
What's funny is like for Krafton, this might actually end up helping them. Like, here's the thing: they shouldn't have done this in the beginning, but now people are like, "Oh, well, now if I buy the game, we know it's definitely going. You know, these guys are definitely getting their bonuses that were almost ripped away from them." But there is going to be also a mix of people who are like, you know, and you've said this, that you're like, "I'm not touching any crafting game because you don't want to support the company at all." I think you'll get a mix of that, and you'll probably end up selling about what it was supposed to sell.
It'll probably hit about that same projection that they were talking about.
So essentially, Krafton just
Wasted a year.
lost a ton of
wasted a year, burned bridges with these developers because a whole bunch of other shit. Like, people don't want to work with Krafton now as long as this guy's in charge.
I was gonna say for the future of this company, like if you're like a studio lead, or if you're like someone who's gonna be like in a management position, it's like how can I even negotiate in good faith with these guys? Because we've seen what they've tried to do in the past.
Yeah, they're gonna try and chat GPT me out of my deal.
It's gonna you've essentially capped yourself at like sort of like the quality of people you can bring in. It's just completely like an incredible example of shooting yourself in the foot.
Oh, but before we get further into this rabbit hole, that's a perfect segue, because you want to know what else is a giant multi-billion-dollar company being like, "Hey, we're just a tiny little guy who needs to pay our bills."
Oh no!
Yeah, Fortnite costs are going up for the player, not Epic. So the Fortnite, which is generally referred to in the games industry as the ultimate money printing machine, because it just makes money. It's the biggest IP in like gaming as a whole. It's like got all demographics across the board. It's a perfect marketing opportunity. Everything. V-Bucks are going up. A whole bunch of other stuff is going up. And this is because Epic Games says the cost of running Fortnite has gone up a lot, and they need to pay their bills. In a blog post, which this is from March 10th, the studio announced the cost of running Fortnite has gone up a lot, and we're raising prices to help pay the bills. So they're trying to act like a small indie company when they're actually is Epic Games a $1 trillion company at this point? Probably not. They're a multi-billion-dollar company with the biggest game in the world outside of Roblox, which is a free-to-play, not really like half game, half anything else. But
they also develop Unity, which is universally used by
a whole bunch of other stuff. They have their own ecosystem, even though it's not like widely adopted. They have their own gaming ecosystem. They just won a big thing against Google because of the Google Play stuff on the app on the Android App Store. So starting on March 19th, so in a couple days, the company will be offering fewer V-Bucks in each paid pack, and will be adjusting the prices of its in-game passes and Fortnite crew rewards accordingly. So basically, V-Bucks are going up. They're all basically going up. Like they're not increasing the price of the V-Bucks. They're taking the amount of V-Bucks down. So in order to purchase, you have to essentially you're getting
less V-Bucks per dollar than you're usually.
Basically, the $9 pack is now 800 V-Bucks instead of 1,000. The $23 pack is now 24 instead of 28, and like so on and so forth. You're basically losing like 100 V-Bucks per, or like 100 extra V-Bucks per price tier you go up at scale. So V-Bucks are essentially going from they're basically doubling in price if you're taking account into numbers. Like VGC notes, the exact amount is like it's now 99 cents for 50 V-Bucks instead of 50 cents for 50 V-Bucks. So you're basically getting a 50% price hike here. The Battle Pass, which has previously cost 1,000 V-Bucks, will now only cost 100. So they're shifting down that number. So this is actually a consumer friendly deal, because they did not have to do this. Because if you'll remember when I talk about Pokemon Unite, one of my major stickling points with Pokemon Unite, why I completely ditched the game entirely, is because when they did a bunch of updates and announced that they were adding more monetization and more ways to like essentially gamble in the game that was going to get it banned in 2 countries, one of the things they did was they also upped the price of they did the opposite of this. They upped the price of certain things in the game to where you were priced out of buying the battle pass at the lower number. So like, you used to be able to pay like $7 and get the battle pass. Now you had to pay $12 because you needed the $12 pack to get enough for the battle pass. Essentially, this is not doing that. The battle pass will still be obtainable with the $9 pack because the battle pass will be less. Will now cost 200 V-Bucks less to match, but you will also only earn 800 V-Bucks instead of 1,000. So basically, if you complete the whole battle pass, you can still buy the battle pass for the next season or the next battle
Which
pass.
is something I have always said is like good, and
Yes.
I encourage lots of games to do that because I just think rewarding players who generally put time into the game is good. Because when you feel rewarded and you feel happier about the game itself, then you are also willing to like, oh, well, maybe I will. There's a special item that I want. I do, I get the battle pass free. I don't have to, have to pay another $9 or $10 to
Yeah,
essentially unlock the battle pass
you
again.
can only
So
pay the
sure,
V-Bucks for when you
I'll
want to
buy
buy
the
a skin or
Sabrina
something.
Carpenter skin or the Avatar skin or whatever.
Exactly.
And yeah.
And then so the other battle passes, because obviously they've got all the battle passes. You got OG battle pass, you got music pass, you got the Lego pass. All
So
those are
essentially if you're a regular Fortnite player and you get your season's battle pass, you grind it out, that'll probably stay the same, but essentially it's going to mean that unless the cost of skins and in items in the store are going to go down, it does mean that that stuff's going to be more expensive.
That's why they're doing this. It's because this is goodwill to the people who just play the game. If you want the skins that aren't in the battle pass, you're gonna have to pay more. That's what this is. So,
look, they only made an estimated 6.21 billion in gross revenue last year
on Fortnite.
I mean,
or is that on Fortnite or in general?
I think that's Epic Games as a whole,
okay.
According to
I guess what? That's still more money than most gaming companies make ever. So, and they're also almost exclusively in the games business compared to like Microsoft and Sony, which are entertainment juggernauts or tech juggernauts. So they're basically competing with Nintendo and Capcom and like EA, I guess. So they're so far above like those thresholds. Like Nintendo's the only one that probably even comes like within the ballpark.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not all, because they're also now another thing that they're doing is Save the World is coming back. It never really went away. It was still a thing, but it's coming. It's now free to play. So if you don't know what Fortnite was originally, it was actually Fortnite Save the World, which is kind of this like tower defense. Basically, if you played like the Halloween mode that they repurposed for like the Huntrix mode, the K-pop Demon Hunter mode this last year, but it was the Halloween mode the year before that.
It's a PvP. It's a PvE horde mode.
Battle like building tower defense. Where that's where the building mechanics came from and everything. And then once PUBG became super successful, they basically yanked PUBG and did Battle Royale, and then that's what became Fortnite as we know it now. Fortnite Save the World is coming to free to play. This is Sam Sepiol. Sepiol, is that how you pronounce it, Scott, over at Insider Gaming? I don't know if you know how to pronounce his last name.
I do not.
But
shout out Sam.
It is coming to free to play on April 16th. The mode will be playable on Switch 2 also, so it's going to be free to play on all platforms except for Switch 1, I think. And so Epic Game Store has been making new announcements for this stuff. This came after the V-Bucks price hike. Basically, Save the World will be free to play next month, and interested players can register now to help the community, help hit the community goal or whatever. There's rewards for like pre-registering for this mode to get extra stuff. So basically, what this is, or what we're assuming this is them trying to reintroduce this mode as an optional mode in Fortnite to then eventually turn this into some kind of extraction shooter / PvE mode that they can co-develop alongside everything else they do to try and compete with the Arc Raiders and stuff internally without having to rely on side modes developed by fans. This feels like what that is. They're trying to find a way to compete with the other this growing element of PvE modes or PvE games in the same genre as kind of like this Battle Royale, which is what like Arc Raiders kind of is. So that just feels what it is. I just wanted to bring it up because that's kind of an interesting take on what it is.
Yeah, it's curious to see. Yeah, I mean, in terms of like aside from Roblox being like I mean, obviously Roblox being a bigger game and like a bigger money machine, it's second to Roblox also in terms of like how reliant it is on user generated content. Whereas Roblox is pretty much entirely reliant on
It
user
all
generated
is. It
content.
all is. Yeah.
But Fortnite, a big portion of it is reliant on
You'll
user
never
generated
guess how
content.
many times I've been scrolling shorts on YouTube when I'm taking a poop, and I'll see I'll end up on a live stream because they give you live streams on shorts now,
Hmm.
or stream previews, and
Of
I'll see
course.
someone doing some kind of like break the glass mini game from Squid Games, but it's
Hmm.
K-pop Demon Hunter players. They're playing some kind of gibberish music in the background, and
Hmm.
the way you scum out the game is you go in front of the thing, you get to the edge of the platform, and then you twerk on it to see if it breaks, and then you if it doesn't break, you jump, but if you don't, then you go to the other one. And I'm like, why is this what's getting fed to me? I don't want to see this. Anyways, uh,
That just kind of like washed over my brain. Like
good.
I don't
I
think it even
hope it
absorbed
did
it.
because I don't want to see it. Now the internet knows. Anyways,
Right.
you want to hear about another company that's scummy?
Go ahead.
So this is another new one. This is now directly relating to what we were talking about when it comes to those initial investments in game studios during the last the 3 years post pandemic. NetEase will stop funding Gang of Dragon developer Negoshi Studios in May 2026. Sources told Bloomberg, this is Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg, I would assume, but just Bloomberg in general here. This is me reading from Sophie McAvoy over at GamesIndustry.biz. Sources told Bloomberg that employees were informed of the decision last Friday, March 6th. An NetEase spokesperson confirmed. Also, by the way, stopping the funding in May 2026 means they have less than 2 months of funding left, right as of now. NetEase spokesperson confirmed the news but did not elaborate on the reasons for the cut or exit terms. People familiar with the situation said funding was pulled after NetEase reportedly found at least 7 billion yen or
Yeah.
$44.4 million more would be needed for Negoshi Studio to complete its debut title. It recently debuted a teaser for Gang of Dragon at the Game Awards. So Negoshi Studio is the studio founded by RGG, so Ryu Gagato, Games co-founder and legendary Sega developer Negoshi, and this is going to be like a new take on the Yakuza formula to kind of take on Yakuza,
Hmm.
especially as Yakuza is reaching this new period of what it is. So starring,
Hmm.
I can't remember the actor, but starring a very famous Korean actor, I believe. The trailer looked good, looked very
Yep.
Yakuza style of like classic Yakuza looking thing. But developers reportedly trying to find new sponsors without success, and has allegedly been told by NetEase that while it is free to continue on its own, it must bear a corresponding cost if it wants to keep the assets or brand. Negoshi Studio was founded in 2021 by Yakuza creator Toshihiro Nagoshi, who serves as the company's CEO and representative director. At the time of its formation, NetEase said the studio will focus on developing high-quality console titles that will be released globally. Negoshi Studio is one of many NetEase subsidiaries affected by restructuring, cuts, and layoffs. So Nexon, NetEase, Krafton, all these companies, especially over in the on the eastern side of things, so not necessarily Japan. So NetEase, Chinese company that invested in several Chinese Japanese studios and talent, because a lot of legendary developers in Japan were like kind of like, oh well, you'll give us a lot of money to work on games that we want to work on, so they'll leave Sega, they'll leave Capcom, they'll leave whatever to go found their own studios and work on their games. The money's drying up. The money has either dried up or is drying up because the return on investment is not what they thought it was going to be when they founded these studios post COVID. This sucks. This game
Yeah.
looks like it would be really good. Negoshi is like I said, legendary developer who made a bunch of different franchises and developed a bunch of really cool games over the last 30-ish years. I am tired of these studios being like, oh, well, we already invested this much in this and we're not willing to invest anymore in this, even though we are the ones who helped found the studio. So now you got to go find the money. And if you don't get to actually keep any of the assets.
That's what I don't get. It's like you've already invested so much time and money into it, and it's like, oh, we need a bit more. It's like, no, I think we're done. It's like, okay, well now you just have nothing. It's like, what or how are you gonna
They're going to write
like
it off as a
okay,
loss and probably get a tax break.
but still, it's like then like but like it's just like philosophically, like, what's the point of it then?
They
Like it's
wanted
just
money.
like
They don't care about the games. These people don't care about games. That's the whole thing. The developers care about the games. That's why they go and get them. They go and get these developers and entice them with, we'll give you a lot of money to make your game. And then as soon as the game doesn't make money or it doesn't show it's going to start making money, these CEOs and corporate people just cut and fire people. They close studios left and right. They'll destroy. They'll just hold on to IP because IP is king in these days. So they'll just hold on to it and not do anything with it until it becomes valuable again. And those studios will all be shut down. People will lose their jobs and they won't make anything. That was the big thing about Konami for years. Is Konami just had all this gaming IP that they were just making pachinko machines with after they started slowly getting out of the gaming industry post Kojima. And then now they're back making games, and people are like, wow, Konami's making cool shit again. Whoever's running Konami now, all these developers that they're bringing in, and these talent that they ended up retaining internally, even though they weren't making games, are now helming all these returns to form for I mean, Silent Hill F just sold 6 million, just sold 5 million copies. Or Silent Hill 2 Remake just sold 5 million copies. Silent Hill F has sold really well. They've got a game coming out next month, which is that Octopus Detective game. They've got the
Silent Hill Townfall.
Silent Hill Townfall later this year. They've got the Metal Gear Solid Collection 2 coming out later this year. They're in a really good spot. The new Castlevania game might drop this year.
Yeah, that Konami block at the State of Play was solid.
Incredible because it came out of nowhere.
No,
that's what we're saying. Is it? No one was expecting that much out of Konami, even though they'd slowly been making their return. But now we're seeing a regression from all these founded studios, or the studios owned by these Chinese developers, or the not Japanese Eastern developers, because they invested in gaming at the worst, at the time when they thought it was going to boom bigger than ever because of COVID. And they expected return on that investment. And now they're not seeing that return on investment with the games that have come out, or their live service games that keep flopping. And Marvel Rivals was a huge success, and they closed the studio that was helping with that game in Seattle. They did. Months after that game became a massive success. They just don't care. I'm actually going to skip ahead because we're done with this story. Where is it? And we
there's a couple of marathon related things, but we can say that for next week because I think we're gonna have a bigger discussion about.
These don't. I don't care. A couple of devs from Marathon and what was it?
A couple of. So there's been a lot of discourse on we're
not gonna get into
Twitter. There's been a lot of discourse on Twitter about player counts.
We talked about it a little bit.
I mean, not just for Marathon, but for a lot of games and whole
live service games, dead game, that kind of stuff.
It's the same chud losers who are just looking for because they showed one LGBTQ dev one time that now they have to dedicate their entire selves to rooting for a game downfall.
The person who wrote Dragon Age, the new Dragon Age was and it's that person wrote the other Dragon Ages you just didn't know that it was them back when that game. Regardless, it was just a couple devs from a couple live service games being hey, if you're on top of player count and you're arguing that kind of stuff on social media, you're unemployed and you're a loser, which is true. And then
factually true.
Good news. Bungie did credit the artist that they were in a legal situation with that was plagiarized some of their designs and stuff in some of the early versions of the Marathon testing and stuff. This is Fern Hook, who's a relatively popular artist on Twitter. And so there's a whole situation about legal stuff. They settled. Hook was very happy with how that went, and then they also credited them in the actual credits as an artist for the game, which is great. The perfect way to settle that, wrap up a nice bow on a situation that ended positively, and great. I just wanted to flag that.
I wanted to quickly just on that, I wanted to recommend an article from Christian Donlin at Eurogamer. He titles it, I'm slowly trying to reverse engineer Marathon's incredible art style and have come to realize why I love it. It's a really great read.
Shoot that to me and I'll put it in the description as a weekly reading.
He does acknowledge the the issue with the stolen artwork and the artists and giving them proper credit, because it did have a great ending, or a good ending, a positive ending.
Still a shitty situation,
still something to happen, but and we kind of I think I maybe speculated this on last week where it's and again, not a good thing to happen, but this could be potentially more people now aware of this artist and their work.
Yeah, that's why it's a good thing and not a mediocre thing, because now they are credited in a game that they wouldn't have been credited in otherwise. They got a ton of attention from multiple sides of media, and a lot of people know this person's art now that wouldn't have known it before this situation. Is it still a terrible situation? Yes, but they got paid. Undisclosed
very
amount.
Well, from what I understand.
Yes,
from what I
very well compensated.
They said they were very well compensated.
This situation is the best way anybody can handle this situation. You got caught doing this at some scale, whether it was intentional or not. You owned up to it, went to the person. settled completely with them, paid them well, put them in the credits of your game, and now that person has not only a game credit that they can cite an entire but now they also have more of a following because of the whole situation. This should not happen again, but this is the best way this could have been resolved.
Correct.
What is a bad way to be resolved is what I wanted to get to, and why we're skipping those stories so fast, is because all these companies are just, it doesn't matter if a game is successful. EA is laying off people across all of its Battlefield studios, regardless of the game selling 6 million copies, because this is realigning. EA is going to be laying off a lot more people over the next year and a half, 2 years, as they get ready to be fully acquired by Saudi Arabia. Once that deal goes through, all bids are off. Studios are going to get closed. Studios are going to get sold off. Hundreds and thousands of people are going to get laid off. But this specifically, again, shout out Insider Gaming, shout out Greg Taylor Hill for this article. It has just been revealed that Electronic Arts is making a slew of layoffs. This is from March 9th. Where Battlefield 6 continues to evolve despite the space as the live service release of Battlefield 6 against evolve. This is going to reported that employees across Criterion, DICE, Ripple Effect, and Motive are all being impacted. So all 4 studios that work on all levels of Battlefield are getting hit. It sold 6 million copies. Like, this game is a success. It, like, all metrics, this game was like criticized as like is this game coming out this year? We weren't sure back in the summer. What is this going to look like? The comments from the CEO are like, and the heads of like the one studio that were like, we want this to have 100 million people in Battlefield. And everybody's like, you haven't even had 100 million people buy Battlefield before. 6 million people did buy this Battlefield, and more have played the free to play, whatever mode that they released for the Battle Royale or whatever. So all that
I
stuff,
forget what it's called, but
I don't care.
Red Sec.
I don't. This is, whatever the case. This is like, this game now like it's damaged goods for a lot of people.
Yeah,
like this, you just fired
it's
people
still,
on a successful game.
Yeah, it's you know, I bought it, I played it, I enjoyed it. I don't like actively still play it. I have a couple friends who still like, play a couple games here and then, but obviously it's not like retained a massive player base, but like, and again, like people bought 6 million people bought like a fully priced $60 game
and loved it and really liked it. It got good reviews. It beat out Call of Duty for a month.
Oh yeah. This is, I think it's having, weirdly enough, there's more people playing Call of Duty now, but that's probably because Call of Duty came out after.
And it's also it's not only that, but it's also like, is that Call of Duty or is that the Call of Duty Portal?
That's Call of Duty Portal. So that could
so that's
that
all
probably
the modern Call of Duties.
Yeah, that's a great point. I was also gonna say we're also now getting into like Call of Duty League season that usually gets
it's gonna get hyped up. It's gonna be, there's been sales. It's been on sale since at a pretty steep discount.
Well, like Call of Duty's all time. What's it say? Call of Duty's all time peak on Steam, 491,000. Battlefield, and that's its entire lifespan. Battlefield 6, 700, almost 750K.
Yep.
So like, it this, like you said, this was a successful game. It's and people say like all the time that like there's always gonna be layoffs in games because projects start and then people develop games and the game comes out and people get laid off. But like this just seems like exceptionally cruel, and but also just goes to show what we've been saying is that, and what people were saying in the wake of this. It's like, make a bad game, laid off. Make a good game, you laid off.
Doesn't matter.
It has a lifespan, laid off. The Dead on Arrival, laid off. It's like that. It really doesn't matter what you do, and
it all depends on the company. It all depends on the company.
Sure, absolutely.
Like it's like an institutional thing at this point. The industry isn't safe. There's no place where you are safe. If you are an indie studio, you need to make a game hit because you're an indie game. So like you're thriving on, did your last game like overachieve? So you don't have to like necessarily hit the big out of the park thing on your next one. Sure. Are you at Nintendo? Are you Nintendo studio where like even if the game flops, you still got like a structure around you that's probably not going to lead to layoffs? Are you a Bandai Namco where similar things happen? Are you a mid-tier dev that like has like investors and stuff, but you're not like AAA, so you're pretty safe regardless as long as the game is like okay? Or are you at one of these giant companies where it doesn't matter what happens if the game does not succeed massively? Now, depending on the game, like if say Wolverine underperforms, I don't think Insomniac's going to suffer massive layoffs. But That's fingers crossed though, because you're owned by Sony, who has done like shut down Bluepoint for no fault of their own. Bluepoint didn't pitch the God of War live service game, from what I remember from that reporting. They just got shoved onto that thing, even because of situations, and they got mismanaged, and then they had a year of pitching, didn't get a pitch through, and they got laid off completely and shut down. EA, like all these, like it's a situational thing. I just wanted to flag that while we were talking about that. That sucks. Shout out. I really hope that all those like people from those studios can find a job, but like it's getting harder and harder because so many layoffs are happening to find gigs in the industry, even for like year career professionals. So
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah. You want to talk about another shitty thing, because we're just on a roll right now? We'll get to good. There's some good stuff after this. We'll end on good.
We're about the 2-hour mode, so let's or 2-hour mark. So let's speed through these.
Yeah. So this is just hey, Capcom, we love you, but stop being shitty to your actors and shit. This is just a shout out to like all video game companies and all people who work in entertainment, because basically SAG-AFTRA issued a do not work order against Mega Man, the new Mega Man game, Mega Man Dual Override, because it's going non-union. And because of that, Ben Diskin, the voice actor for Mega Man across a bunch of projects, basically said he was offered the role, but it would be work without protections. And he just said, with a broken Blue Bomber heart, I am no longer the voice of Mega Man. I was asked to return for Mega Man Dual Override, but only on the condition I work without the protections of a union contract. I was told there were full AI protections in place that guarantee in writing that my voice will never be used for AI development, but was told with certainty from Capcom that the project will not go union. In my heart, I want to believe Capcom would never use AI, but in my head, I'm aware that basically every major corporation is looking to incorporate generative AI to save money. That's the point. This sucks. Capcom, why? There's no reason to do this. You're just cost cutting at this point for no reason, and you're gonna probably make a worse product for it, and you're not gonna be working with a lot of the most talented people in the industry, and you're treating your people worse than you should. That's stupid.
Stop it.
Yeah,
stop it.
Don't be dumb. Good news to round out. Unless you have a comment on the Mega Man thing, I didn't want to cut you off.
No.
Okay.
No comment.
Outer Sloth, which is the publishing arm of Inner Sloth, the developers of Among Us, or is it the other? Yeah, no, that's the right way around. Posted their full breakdown, which is very simple, of how they structure their publishing deals for the indie games they work with or the developers they work with. As reported by Game Developer, this is another report. Outer Sloth takes a 50% revenue share before a project recoups its investment, after which the company takes 15%. To date, Outer Sloth has invested $19 million across 24 projects since 2022. The company's signing percentage is 1.4%, which it says is slightly above industry average. In the post on its website, Outer Sloth's communication director, Victoria Tran, and CEO Forrest Willard wrote that the firm's aim was to encourage other companies to adopt terms that were more developer-friendly. This is the thinking behind making its contract public. The status quo is often based on what information is publicly available, so we hope throwing our contract into the ring will help shape future conversations. Transparency is key, so hope you enjoy the read. That's simple. You take the success you have and put it towards helping other people find success.
The outfit is not a publisher and has no plans to take IP rights from developers.
Yep.
Great. I would like to, maybe we should maybe not right now, but we should take a look at, some of these Outer Sloth projects. I'd love to see.
I don't know if any of them are out yet, but I do.
Yeah. Well,
I do want to, like, when they. I mean, for reference, Scott and I have talked off air about like doing more to like highlight games and maybe doing more talking about like the games we're playing versus just like a recap. I've been reaching out, especially after Next Fest, about like some game demos and stuff. We're going to be talking to each other more, and then hopefully talking to developers more about potentially doing like mini reviews and probably cutting those out and putting them up as their own videos. Just to do that, like we just want to start talking about these games and stuff.
I'm tired of the AI shame corner, boss. I just want to talk about games I like.
Look, we can.
I'm tired.
I'm
tired.
Scott, the AI shame corner will continue until AI shame is properly utilized to get AI out of the industry.
cut to the gif of Patrick blowing like pumping air into the paint bubble and SpongeBob hoping nonsense.
But then, it's that where it's like either him pumping it or it's him on the surfboard shell going and then just ramming it.
It's us pumping the air into the bubble, and then it cuts to SpongeBob, but it says NVIDIA, it goes Pat, and then
No. Yeah, but shout out indie devs. There's a lot of really great indie games coming out soon. I played some of them on stream on Saturday, and it's just there's so many good games coming out. Play video games and don't support shitty companies. That's just the end all be all. And then the final thing I wanted to point out here is a massive success for another bit. This is a big company. I probably should have ended with the Outer Sloth news, but I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Pocopia. The game sold 2.2 million copies in the first 4 days. And not only that, so it switched to exclusive. It's the first switch to exclusive Pokemon game. There were issues with product, so people couldn't go get a physical copy of the game easily in a lot of places because they underestimated how well this game was going to sell. So like some places like Canada were reopening pre-orders. And then which is kind of dumb because this is just a game cart, so you're not actually getting the physical game. You still have to download it all. It's just like a license, but some people still prefer that. And then I believe by this point it might have already broken that number because the hype behind this game is insane. Like people are loving this game. It's going to continue to sell.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I believe Pokemon Stadium's number, the original Pokemon Stadium is still the best selling Pokemon spin-off game of all time. I think it's like 5.2, 5.6, somewhere in between there million. So this game is very likely to surpass and to become the best selling Pokemon spin-off game of all time, which sets a great precedent for the future of Pokemon spin-off games. If they look at this and are like, oh, working with teams that make cool shit and having oversight from people who know Pokemon internally, but not having to develop, like, take away their time from developing the other stuff that they want to work on fully. Like, this game rules. I really like this game. I was playing it earlier today. Like, great game. So, yeah, I don't know.
Pokemon fans are happy, so I'm happy.
It's great. Yeah, very surprising. I knew I was gonna like it. Just like, I knew I was gonna like the gameplay loop because of the Dragon Quest Builders element to it, but I did not think I would like it nearly as much as I did. I'm like 35 hours in and still have no, like, I'm not going to stop playing, which is a great thing for me to say about like a life sim game.
It's got incredible depth to it. Steph's been playing it, and she's just as much as she played so far, she's still like discovering new things and being surprised by stuff. So I'm just happy for Pokemon fans. They got a real banger here.
Yep, got a banger. I guess I don't even know. We need to get better about asking comment questions or whatever, like mid podcast instead at the very end.
I'll ask a question, and this one's a very simple yes or no. Has anyone in the comments ever heard of the phrase preponed before? Not postponed, but preponed.
All right.
Because I read that some good news for me. Lego Batman has been preponed by a week.
Yeah, just like Pragmata.
It's been moved. Yeah, it's been moved up the week, and I was like, oh, well, I didn't know preponed was a word. So when I first saw that, like when I first saw it on Blue Sky, and this was from Salmon Insider, I was like, oh no, postponed, because I'd never seen preponed before. But I was like, wait, no, preponed. What does that mean?
That's just a pun.
Like,
I don't think that's an actual word or phrase.
I could be wrong. I'm going to Google it right now. And you know what? Wait, actually, you know what? We're saving for the comments.
Yeah,
I'm not going to Google it right now. People
comments,
in the
tell
comments.
Tell Scott if he's right or not. Or if he's wrong or not.
Tell me if I'm right.
Yep. We'll be back next week. We're going to talk about DLSS bullshit. That'll be the AI corner. Scott, sorry, you're not getting out of it next week either. We got the DLSS stuff. We are gonna talk about esports next week with the Overwatch stuff, just like a general pretty long talk about Overwatch, probably some more marathon talk, and then maybe we'll try and do like some previews for like some games that we're super excited for, talk more about what we're playing, because this was a very news heavy episode.
We can our fantasy draft ended. We can talk about that. That'd be a great thing to talk about.
True, we can do that. We do need to talk about that. We need to talk about there's one game coming out next week, I forget. Oh, it's Mega Man Star Force is coming out next week.
Isn't this Friday Crimson Desert?
Yes, it is. It does come out this week. So not
I'm
this week,
I'm
but next.
I'm curious to take a look at that game because that looks like it is absolutely huge.
It's gonna be so big. We talked about it in the Discord, and people are like, this is like a Dragon's Dogma 2 style game. So it's got a lot of jank that some people are gonna really like, and some people are gonna not be able to get over. Is what the previews were that I mean, we're gonna get reviews tomorrow, I assume. So
Yeah,
we'll see. But yeah,
Yeah.
we'll talk about like reviews and stuff next week. Okay, hello camera. Why are you doing this to me now? Okay, well the camera decided no. There we go. Anyways, we'll catch you next week where we talk about all this stuff. Until then, catch you later.
bye all.